Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. We're live. I love it. Hey, everybody. Glad to have you back. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Alyssa, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How was your week? How was your weekend, I should say? All right. The question for today. What? Cookie, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that. The question for today is, would you rather have a 1-minute conversation with your past self or your future self? Go ahead and throw that in the chat for me, please. Izzy, thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. Topher, thank you. Ooh, I think there's a K-Cost. Hey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Ooh, look at that. Little hype train going on there. Appreciate y'all. That's a good mix. We got a lot of folks like future, a lot of folks past. Oh, Rossi, hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the sub. 30 seconds each way. Oh, that'd be great. Oh, Johnny's starting off early. He's like, all right, we gotta make Leon go to the bathroom this stream. Johnny, thank you for the hydrate. Cheers to you. Well, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, let's get in here. Alyssa, I did see the McPlant. I am super excited. Alrighty, folks, welcome. Get on in here. We're gonna give folks a second or two to get in here. I'm gonna go over the little Leon. Let's get through some questions while we wait for folks to get here. All right. Thank you for all the cheering. Secure Greatness, thank you for the cheers. Alyssa, thank you for those bits too. Thank you. I appreciate that. Look at Words, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Y'all wilding right now. I appreciate y'all, but thank you very much. So as always, just so folks are aware, all the subs, the donating, cheering, all of that goes to a donation to the nonprofit I work at during the day, Resilient Coders. So I appreciate y'all. All right, let's get into it. Questions. Anyone else super pumped for each class? I'm glad to hear that. I'm super pumped for each class. I think we're gonna have some fun tonight. We're gonna learn some neat things, and then we're gonna kind of start picking it up a little bit. My US sub is like you can pay a little bit of money to support the channel, to unlock some emoticons and things like that. Kind of just extra like a thumbs up, basically. Completely not necessary. I want this always to be a free stream. All of my content, everything I ever produce related to coding, will always be released for free. I'll never put it behind a paywall or anything like that. So totally not necessary. And everything that does get sub, donated, all that stuff just goes to a donation to the nonprofit I work at. How'd your weekend go? My weekend was good. You know what? Like I had a lot to get done, like a lot of stuff. This is really busy season for us at Resilient Coders right now. We got 3 weeks left of program, and this is when folks start getting their offers. And so, will your OnlyFans be free? It will be. You can unlock it through the channel points. So that's technically free, right? No, this weekend was good. It's busy season at Resilient Coders. The good thing is that our students are getting so many jobs. It's wild right now what's happening. Omar, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you. I had 4 different students today get an offer, like physical offer. I have 1 student that I think by the time this like stream is over, they'll have 4 offers already, like 4 like in-hand offers. And I know that they're getting another one tomorrow. So it'll be wild that we're still 3 weeks away from graduation, and this person might have 5 offers. So that's pretty wild. That's definitely the most we've ever seen before. Hey, Jersey Boss Babe, I appreciate that. Thank you for the sub. So it's gonna be wild. Web Dev Jim, thank you for the posture check. Getting started today. Good. Yeah, and so we have quite a few folks in the cohort that already got offers. They're good offers that are coming in. Great companies, great teams. Once I'm able to kind of like share more, I'll share more. But yeah, I take that. That gives me life. Like when like I had a rough weekend doing a lot of work, but that makes it all worth it. Erica, hey, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that. One job, please, Garrett. Yeah, Erica, that's our goal, right? I want a day like that where everyone in this chat is blowing up the Discord with their offers. That's the goal, right? That's what we're working towards. Kat, I'm trying to take care of myself. Yeah, this is a good weekend. We also had my niece was with us for a while, so that was really nice to have her around. So yeah, I'm taking care of myself, doing all right, and all these offers coming in makes it a really great week. Cool. Well, we let folks get in here. If you have questions, let's get some questions out, and then we're gonna do some review, and then we're gonna kind of keep going. I'm gonna kill the music just so people can hear. All right. Do you lose channel points if you hydrate or posture check? Yeah, you can kind of think of them like as like a currency average. If you spend them, you spent them, right? So that you can get more, but you can spend them to unlock things. No homework due today. The homework will be due on Thursday. So nothing to submit today. Don't worry about trying to submit anything today. Nothing needs to be submitted today. Stuff will be due Thursday, mainly the reading, and we'll talk more about the homework at the end too. Dev Henry, when is the mental health channel coming? Yeah, I got a couple of requests over the weekend to add it too. I just got to think about like where best to put it. I think I'm just going to put it in the main channels for now, and we might find a better place for it later on. So that's something when I get a chance, hopefully after stream, or hopefully after stream I'll have a chance to add it. There's a little stuff like all the permissions and things I have to check, and it's always a little bit of a process. So hopefully today after stream I have some time, I'll be able to set that up. Yeah. All right. The reading material was kind of confusing and overly wordy. I'm not sure if anyone felt that way, but can we touch on the boxing a bit more today? Absolutely. So we have a whole portion of that's about the box model today. And yeah, I agree. Some of the reading can be overly wordy. And that's something we kind of talked about like last class, where it's like, yeah, some of the reading's rough, but wait until you're in the field and you're reading through somebody's really crappy documentation and you're like, glad I practiced reading somewhat decent documentation to get ready for the poor documentation. So I know the reading's rough. I know for some folks it takes a while to kind of ramp up to being able to digest all that reading. And so that's why we're taking our time. We're doing a lot of review. We're going to do a lot of review this class. We're going to do review all next class. So we're ramping up to it. And hopefully I can always reinforce the more difficult topics. So this class will definitely have stuff on the box model just to reinforce those concepts. The idea here is that a lot of it's going to be like our first pass. Here for the food, redeem stretch, and Kevin got a posture check. Whew, you guys are balling out today. Give me a second. Let me get my stretch in. Be right back. Not that kind of channel. Alrighty. And we're back. Cool. Thank you for those redemptions so early on. I appreciate y'all. So a lot of times the reading will cover things with the goal that's your first pass through, right? That's your first time like actually engaging with that material, and that's okay for it to be tricky or confusing. A lot of the bigger concepts we're always going to reinforce in class. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have office hours returning on Saturday. So my goal is for office hours to always be the place where we kind of like unwind all that confusion. And so this Saturday, we're going to have office hours from 12 p.m. to around 3 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, we got a level 3 hype train emote. That's cool. I've never seen that before. That's cool. All right, I'll take that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the hype train. I still like don't know like all the stuff that can be unlocked, and so I appreciate y'all. But yeah, so back this Friday, This Saturday, we will have office hours, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time, where I hope if there's still some bigger topics that you're not understanding, Thursday's class will also be review. If there are things that are not sinking in, things that you have trouble with, hopefully we can go through them all during Saturday. Cool. It's buffering a lot tonight. If sometimes when it's doing that, if you go ahead and give a refresh, and then also if we have quality settings tonight, I hope so. If you have quality settings, go ahead and maybe pipe the quality settings down. But we're seeing some folks are saying it's super smooth, and some folks are having some quality issues. I would assume hopefully you can turn down the quality on your end so that it's a little bit smoother for you, and always give it a refresh if it's too much. Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. If you haven't already and you want the slides, you can do !slides to get the slides for today's class. If you want the materials, you can join our Discord, !Discord. You can join the Discord community, agree to the rules, and then there will be a follow-along materials channel that have all the materials for today's class. We have a couple folders that we're going to move through, a couple files that are going to be really important for you to have if you want to follow along. And then if you haven't checked in yet, please check in. You can do !check-in to check in today on Twitter. Habdams, thank you for the hydrate. Cheers to you. All right. Doom said nothing below 4K 120 FPS with RGB. I wish. I think I'm at 720 upload right now. I think I got to play with that some more. Alrighty. Well, let's get into it, folks. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about this evening. So we had some questions. So we talked through some of the questions. We're going to review, kind of get that space repetition in, right? Some of the CSS fundamentals that we touched on last class. We're going to review specificity, make sure folks are feeling comfortable with specificity, make sure we get through the questions related to specificity. We're going to review our relationship selectors. We're going to kind of spend some time, a lot of things that we learned last class, a lot of stuff you did in the reading, we're just going to spend some time reviewing, making sure we feel comfortable. Then we're going to learn about the box model. We're going to draw out a few box models. Hopefully you have questions. Knox, I saw you had some questions. Hopefully we can get through them. Everybody feels good about the box model. Then we're going to talk about some simple ways to do layout. And then the lab that we have this evening that we'll do together is to create a very simple layout. And then your homework will be to complete 3 layouts by Thursday. So there are lots of things to cover. It's going to be a lot of review. Make sure folks are feeling okay. This class shouldn't go as long as our normal classes, just to give room for that lab and to give some folks a little bit more time for the lab. All right. Should we get ready? Should we lock and load? If you haven't yet, some brown boy, hey, appreciate you. Thank you for the sub. If you haven't yet, I'm really curious about your answer to that question. So if you haven't answered the question yet, 1 minute with your past self or 1 minute with your future self, throw it in chat just so I can see it. I'm curious. I feel like I learn a lot about y'all based on how you respond to these questions. So I like when you share. So if you've been quiet, you haven't typed anything in chat, go in and type that in chat, and then you can go back to not typing the rest of the class if you prefer. We're seeing a lot of pass. Zavito, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Cool. All right. Thank you for sharing. Let's get into it. Some things I want to review. Class full of regret. Some things I want to talk about that we've talked about. I just want to throw them out. A little bit of ranting Leon time. All right. A little bit of ranting Leon time. Once again, I want to remind y'all, especially early on, right? Especially early on, I want y'all to focus on going deep and not wide, right? I see some folks that I saw somebody asked me, and I'm not going to say their name or like call them out, but somebody was like, "Hey Leon, I'm trying to add this like bit of JavaScript to my like the about site." And I was like, "What? Like, why are you trying to add JavaScript to the about?" And then we start talking. I was like, "Can you tell me like the semantic meaning behind an aside? Can you can you tell me like the semantic meaning behind some of these tags that we should now know very well? And they couldn't. So I was like, all right, you went wide, which I get why you went wide, but you should have focused in and went a little bit deep, right? There's so much stuff that we've covered. Like, it seems like we've only been doing it for 3 classes, right? But there's so much stuff that you could go deep on right now. All the HTML tags, all the CSS rules. Do you feel comfortable knowing all the different properties that could exist in CSS? Have you kind of really sunk back into the Shay Howe reading? Like, there's so much stuff, right? So much stuff that if you went wide when you had all that stuff on your plate, you're not going to make it. It's going to be too much. If your go-to is to keep going wider and wider and wider as we add more and more stuff to learn, it's going to get really rough, right? And so focus on going a little bit deeper. Focus on trying not to spread yourself too thin early on. We're ramping up. Like I told you, we're going to ease into it. The very first slide was the Viking telling us that we're going to slow down. We're going to ease into it, right? And so you should be easing into this, spending a lot of time going deep with the material that I've shared, and there will be time to learn all the other things that we want to learn. But for now, we're really focused on trying to go a little bit deeper, okay? I noticed that with a lot of folks. All right. Gonna go ahead and move on to the next one here. All right. The other thing, and this is just from folks that came to my individual office hours on Mondays. They're always open. leonnoel.com/book-time or leonnoel.com/booktime. I have slots open every Monday if you need some one-on-one questions or one-on-one advice. I always keep them open. They fill up very quickly. I release new ones every month. They fill up very quickly. But probably the number one thing that I got asked during my Monday office hours were about Anki. Okay. So, cheers to you, Digital Fendi. Thank you for the hydration. Right. Number one thing that people want to talk about was Anki. If you're doing Anki, you're probably doing Anki just fine. Right. The default settings are the settings that I use. I set up my decks in like specific ways, but if you're doing Anki, you're probably doing it fine. The one bit of advice that I kept trying to tell folks is that don't feel like you can't ever remove cards. Right. You can remove cards. Like if you went ham, you were taking questions during lecture, you threw all those questions into the Anki deck, then you went on MDN and you grabbed every CSS property, threw it into an Anki deck, and then like all this stuff just went into your Anki deck, and you're reviewing and you're like, I'll never need to know this, or I don't feel like I need to know this. Don't be afraid to delete it. Right? Your Anki deck should be a place of you remembering things that you deem important. And I know that's the hard part. I know the hard part with Anki is like what's important, what's not important. And early on, you're going to put way too much into your Anki deck. Everyone does. Like early on, you're going to have so many cards. It's kind of wild. But as you progress, you're going to start to get the sixth sense as to what is important. Right? So early on, it's okay. You're building out a habit. It's so hard to see this one. Kaleem, thank you. I appreciate that for the gifted sub. Appreciate you. Early on, you're probably going to do too many cards, but that's okay. Early on, you probably want more repetition. You want some more space repetition practice anyway. So know that early on, you're probably doing too many cards, but that's okay. You're easing into it. You're building a habit. You're trying to make it so that something that's going to stick long term, and freaking out about doing it right or wrong does you no good. You're doing it right. I'm here to tell you, if you're doing Anki, you're using it daily, then you're doing it right. Okay. And as you progress, you're going to start to develop a little bit more of a sense as to what should go into the decks, right? And what shouldn't be there. When we get to the homework next, I'll go over that for you. Just I don't want to confuse folks right now. All right. He said Dex, right? I have a master deck, and then I have individual decks for like each. I do it by like if I'm doing like my most recent ones I were doing for MIT's like computer science courses, and so I'd have a master deck, and then inside of that master deck were decks for each class, right? I think the one thing that we're going to talk about this next week. I'm going to share more of my Anki setup next week with y'all. The only thing that I think that I haven't seen some folks doing with Anki is using tags on your cards. I think the only thing that I really do differently than like a generic like Anki setup is that my cards have tags. And so each tag will have like a computer science tag. It'll have a JavaScript tag. It might have like a Bootcamp tag or a class 1 tag. And so I've just found that if I tag my cards, that makes my life easier when I do review outside of like the space repetition review. So I just tag my cards, and I think that's the only major thing that I really do differently that I think has had an impact on my ability to use Anki. But like I said, next week I'm going to show you my Anki setup, and we're going to go through it a little bit just because folks kind of keep asking. But yeah. So once again, deep breath. You're using Anki okay? You're doing it every day. That's the more important thing. All right? You're building out the habit, and the habit has room to improve over time. All right. The other most popular thing that came up was something that's really important to understand early on. Sean Michael, I appreciate you. Thank you for the hydration. I'm drinking a nice diet iced tea today. It's nice. Smooth. All right. Now, when I was looking for the GIF for this slide, it could have been real gross. When I was on Giphy, like looking at these, like it was bad. And so this is the tame one, folks. I apologize if it's making you gag a little, but like this is the good one. It was really bad. There was a few in here that I don't think people have been too happy with. All right. Here's something I've said for a really long time, and it's something I stand by 100%. When you are first starting to write code, you should vomit your code and then clean it up later. You should vomit your code and then clean it up later. What the heck does that mean? What it means is that you should just get it to look right or work. Early on, when you're just learning, if it looks like the image I gave you, you're good. If it does the things I've asked you to do, you're good. It can be a hot mess of the worst code anyone has ever seen, but that's not your goal early on. Your goal early on should be to like get the job done. If you get the job done, refactoring is for closers. So meaning that you can come back and refactor your code to your heart's content, but you do not get the luxury of writing code with best practices or writing code in the most optimal or most efficient way or writing code that's maintainable over time. All of those things are for later on. When you're first learning something, vomit your code all over the place, and then you'll clean it up later when you have some time. Okay? And so the idea here is that a lot of folks, one of the early barriers to them being successful is they stare at their code editor and they get overwhelmed by if they're doing it right or wrong. Right? Refactoring is for closers, not losers. Refactoring is for closers, meaning if you've done it, then you can come back and refactor. Right? So they get overwhelmed. They're staring at their text editor, VS Code's all pretty with the colors, and they're stressing about like writing the code. Please don't stress about writing code. vomit your answers, vomit your code into your text editor. It's going to look bad. It's going to look horrible. It's going to be the worst thing that anybody has ever seen. And that's okay. That's 100% okay. Early on, 100% okay. Now you come to me in 20 weeks and you're still writing vomit code, and it's something that you've been writing for a long time, then we have some qualms. But right now, especially if you've never written code before, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to look like hot garbage, and that's okay. We'll spend plenty of time talking about best practices. I'm going to give you plenty of reading to make sure your code is clean, efficient, and optimal. We're not there yet. Get something on the board, get a win, get a basket in, and then we're going to progress over time and make our stuff better. No one is going to judge you based on the code that you wrote after 3 classes. If they do, the problem's on them, not you. Okay? You want to get a win on the board, and then you can come back and refactor. Winter, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. So, I need y'all today to forgive yourselves for writing bad code. It's okay. We all do it, especially early on. In fact, I want you to write inefficient, bad code and relieve yourself of the stress. Nobody cares. Also, don't compare yourself to somebody else. They might have been doing this for 40 years. You have no idea. You don't know what their life is like. Don't look at other people and be like, oh, their code looks optimal and professional. Who cares? You're not at that stage. You're here to vomit. If you're here right now, I want you to vomit, right? And so I just think it's something really important because it kept coming up in the one-on-ones. People kept stressing over the code that they were writing, not following, even if you, and I'm about to say this, even if you violated separation of concerns, it's okay. Forgive yourself. It's okay. It's okay. If your goal was to vomit code, right? If your goal was to vomit code and just get the win on the board, and you had to violate separation of concerns to do it, it's all right. It's all right. Because that's why this is real, right? This is real. Guy on screen is sus. I don't think it's Leon, right? Forgive yourself. You can write bad code right now. It's okay. 6 months from now, if you're still writing bad code, we might have some words. But right now, you're all right. All right. New teacher, who does? All right. Now, would I like you to adhere to separation of concerns? Yes, of course. But I think the fear and the unwillingness to just try is really high with a lot of folks. And you need to figure out a way through that. And you need to understand that it's okay early on to have bad code. All right. I forgot this was the next slide. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm sorry. King, thank you for the posture check. Oh, I love the debated in chat. That's hilarious. All right. I'm sorry. That's just too funny. That is too funny. All right. I can't even start. All right. Golden rule, folks. Separation of concerns. Hopefully you're cleaning up your vomit to come back and agree to this rule. So hopefully you've gotten it to work. You're coming back to put your vomit into a plastic bag and take it out to the trash, right? So If you're here to clean up your vomit, you're going to agree to this golden rule, the separation of concerns, the idea that our content should go into our HTML, our style should be written in our CSS, and our JavaScript and behavior should be our behavior and interaction should be in our JavaScript, and we shouldn't mix these concerns together, right? We shouldn't have style in our HTML, we shouldn't have HTML in our CSS, and we shouldn't be mixing any of those things into our JavaScript. Now, this is a really important rule for one very important reason. And what is that, chat? What is that? Yeah, there we go. Organization, right? So the idea here is that if we are agreeing to the golden rule, that we're adhering to separation concerns, we are keeping ourselves organized. So when we come back to our code later on, we know where to go. And if we're working on a team, they know where to go, right? McJoster said to get 5 job offers. I'll tell you what, this comes up in interviews a hell of a lot, right? It comes up a lot. People want to know that you know the best practices. People want to know that you can write code in a maintainable way. We're not there yet. You got to get over the fear first. If you have any fear in writing code, you got to get over that first, and we'll build up to the best practices. Cool. Where does our CSS go? Can we put CSS in line? Should we put it in the head? Should we put it in a separate file? Chat, where does CSS go? Yeah, it goes in a separate file. It goes in a separate file, so we could adhere to this golden rule, the separation of concerns. When might be the one exception for inline? What's the exception for inline style? Like style that's written into the HTML element. Yeah, all right, chat, you got it quick. Email. Email is when it's acceptable to have some HTML in line, because emails most of the time don't have the ability to have external style sheets. So any of the emails that you see that look good, they're probably HTML with CSS in line. There's one example I showed that where you might be okay to put a little bit of CSS in the head if you like do this, if you're trying to achieve this one thing. Wolfpack, I see you already got it. Nice. Yeah, if you work at Amazon, right? If you work at Amazon and you're employing critical path CSS, where you really care about what's above the fold, right? When you really care about like that landing page, the first thing the user sees, and that needs to render super fast, then you might do something called critical path CSS, but your whole team, right? Like your whole team will have been bought into that idea as it being a best practice. I'm your daddy, Memphis. Thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Yep, critical path CSS is what that's called. But for us and for most of the time, like 99.999% of the time, we're going to go ahead and put it in a separate file. Also, since we're talking about Amazon, if you want to spend Jeff Bezos' money, you can use your Amazon Prime to sub to the channel. That costs you nothing. It's just part of your Amazon Prime. And that donation goes to Resilient Coders, who just helped a bunch of folks get jobs today, which is pretty awesome. All right. If we are putting our CSS into a separate file, right? If you're putting your CSS into a separate file, then we need to link our HTML and our CSS files together. The way that we can link the files together is through the link tag. This is a little bit of HTML that'll go in the head of your HTML, and it just tells the browser where to go and find your separate style sheet. If you do not include this link, you won't be able to tie your CSS to the HTML. That's all it is. And this href is the path from the HTML file that you're loading to the CSS file. So in this case, we're saying go into a CSS folder and then find the file called style.css. All right. So in the slides, I asked you to come back and do a little bit of review. In the slides, they have a really good breakdown of all the vocabulary here. So this vocabulary is important just so that you can talk about CSS. And so the slides had all the breakdown, and the whole breakdown. Remember, in CSS, we write rules. A rule is broken down into two pieces, a selector and a declaration block. Crisco, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. We had a declaration block. We have declarations. We have properties, and we have values. Okay, so let's go ahead and play a little bit of name that tag. Well, sorry, name that part of the rule. There we go. All right, so what is this whole thing called, chat? Chat, what's that whole thing called? Destroyer, hello to you, beautiful person, as well. Yeah, the whole thing is a rule. Nice. How about just this? What is that, chat? Go ahead. Oh, the first person. Oh, it went too fast for me to see the first person. Yeah, it's a value. Nice. That individual piece is a value. How about this? How about that, chat? Doobie Dunker, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. What a great name. Yeah, it's a declaration block. Well done, chat. Well done. Zerk. Hey, Zerk Ito 12. Appreciate the sub. Thank you very much. So that's a declaration block. How about this, chat? What's that? What is that? It's a selector. Nice. I saw a posture check slip in there real quick. I need to figure out how to do a separate stream for the rewards. I'll figure that out. All right, there we go. Nice to do. I'm back in my nice posture. Thank you for that. Let's go ahead and do two more. How about this, chat? What is that? What do we got there? Oh, thank you, Alyssa. Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to pop that out. Nice. It is a declaration. Well done, chat. And then one last one. What's that? Chat, what is that I just circled? Property. Whew. I can see all the Ankiing has paid off. You've all reset your forgetting curve multiple times on this material, and you're blazing through it. Well done. Well done. What happens if I forget? Well, what could happen if I forgot to put like a semicolon at the end? What could happen there? What are some negative things that could happen? Yeah, the stuff that comes after might not work. That line might not work. It might not be read fully. And then the stuff that comes after probably wouldn't render. So you got to be careful. If you forget a semicolon at the end of your line, the lines that come after might break. And then also, if you forget your closing curly brace, you might see some things break as well. So make sure your stuff is closing. Make sure you have a colon separating the property and value. Make sure you have a semicolon at the end of the line, and always make sure that your declaration block closes. Cool. Cookie said the CSS feds break down your door. Alrighty. Now, CSS is read from top to bottom, meaning rules that come above have the ability to be overwritten by rules that come below. We call this the cascade, like water cascading down a waterfall. The things that we write above can be overwritten by the things that come below. And so we see an example of that here. Cheers to Fendi with the hydration. Cheers to you. The iced tea is rather good today, so I'm not minding the hydrations early on. All right. So we have the, not that I ever mind them, but I'm enjoying them, I should say, today. All right. So early on, we have this paragraph here that has a color of red and a font weight of bold. And then further down the cascade, we have another paragraph selector with the color of blue, right? And so the idea here being that the rule that came above set the color to red and the font weight to bold, right? And then a rule further down the cascade reset the color to blue. So chat, how are the paragraphs going to be styled right now? Chat, tell me how the paragraph is going to be styled. Here you go. Yeah, blue and bold, right? So on the first rule, we got both a red and bold value, right? And then as we went down the cascade, the color was overwritten to be blue, but nothing overwrit the boldness. And so this is a really cool thing about CSS is that you can like pick up these properties as you go down the cascade, and just having a rule doesn't override other rules. You have to have a specific property and value pair, and you have to have the same or greater specificity in the selector. The reason why we're able to override the color from red to blue here is because this paragraph and this paragraph has the same what, chat? Has the same level of what? Yeah. Specificity, exactly. So I saw some folks that were pretty quick. They said points. They're the first person to say points. Yeah, it is points, and we call this point specificity. And the idea here is that each selector has a certain number of points behind it. Both of these are worth 1 point. So the stuff that came below can be overwritten by the stuff that came below. Sorry, the stuff that came above can be overwritten by the stuff that came below, right? And so we do get the ability for it to go from red to blue. Free apple pies. Hey, appreciate you. Thank you for the sub. Right? So this is a very simple example of the cascade, but it's something that we're going to bend to our will to help us style our content. Cool. Chat, why might we want to link our CSS to a separate CSS file? In different ghosts. Thank you for 5 gifted subs. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. Welcome everyone that just got the sub. Yeah, separation of concerns. If we're adhering to separation of concerns, we're sticking to that golden rule. We want to make sure that our HTML is just our content and our CSS is just our style. So we're going to put our CSS into a separate file, and that's why we would put it in a separate file to adhere to that separation of concerns, that best practice. Diabolical. You got bingo already? Whew. I'll reach out. We got to add some more words. All right. So let's review some simple styles, and then you're going to start writing some CSS on your own. Okay. So let's look at some simple styles. Let's talk through how we would use them, and then you're going to write some CSS on your own. I'll send you a DM, Diabolical. All right. We talked last class about the many different ways we can use color, using the color keywords, hexadecimal values, RGBA values, HSLA values. Chat, why would we might not use the color keywords like later on when we're building sites for actual clients and things like that? Why might we not use it? Yeah, K-Coughs. Got it right off the jump. Blah, blah, blah. Got it too. Linux Gilbert, hey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Everybody's rushing in with the Twitch Prime. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, it gives you specificity. It was not specificity. It should be more specific, right? Like what color blue, like what shade of blue, what specific shade of red. If you're just using the color keyword red, you don't really get to pick. So then you're going to move to a hexadecimal, RGBA, or HSLA value. Like I said, I like RGBA. I can think about the colors really well. I know that my Photoshop telescope thieves. Hey, thank you. I appreciate the sub. Oh, y'all coming in, man. How is that not like a sub train? That's been popping off the whole time. You get a little bit more specific color, right? You can be more specific with the colors here. I like RGBA because I could think about it. Go for Mitch. Thank you for the sub. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all. Get a little bit more control. And I love that alpha channel. That alpha channel gives me transparency whenever I want it. I can make any shade of color more or less transparent with that alpha channel going from 0.01 to 1. So for me, it's the color of choice. Web Dev DJM. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for the sub. Man, we spending all those Bezos bucks today. Jeff Bezos is gonna have to say he's gonna give me a call later. Be like, Leon, they're spending too much of my money. We're like, hey, sorry about that. Got to do what you gotta do. Cool. All right, so those are some of the colors that we would use. You know what? Like, could you imagine like being Jeff Bezos at a club and he's trying to throw money in the air? It's like nothing. Like, and Jeezy, what's up? Where's Jeezy been? I mean, what's Jeezy been up to? Appreciate y'all. Jelani says just buys the club, like goes into the club and just like he signs the piece of paper to buy the club, and then he throws the signed contract in the air. That's how Bezos goes to the club. They just bring out the contract, he signs, throws it. That's what he's doing. He's throwing the Sir Fan, if I told, hey y'all, thank you all, I appreciate y'all. I gotta check after this stream. I'll announce it next stream how big the donation to RC is gonna be. I'm gonna do the first one hopefully. Cutter, hey Cutter 9, appreciate the sub, thank you. Yeah, all these prime subs. Dragonoid with the hydrate. Woo! Y'all going wild. Thank you. Yeah, so I haven't even set it up to like cash out. I just said like Amazon, like you keep all the money, and then once it hit like a certain number, I was just gonna like withdraw it and send it straight to RC. And so I think we're at the point where I'm going to need to do that soon because it's just sitting there. So I think on after Thursday, I'll do what I got to do to get it out and then send it to RC, and then I'll let you all know. So I really do appreciate y'all. We're a nonprofit, which means that we we need the money, and what we do is we actually fund our students to go through our program. A perfect day. Hey, thank you. So most folks can't take time off to do a boot camp, let alone time off unpaid. So all the folks that go through Resilient Coders, not only is it 100% completely free for them, right? Like they don't ever pay a dime. They don't ever pay us back, like nothing like that. We actually give them a small stipend to go through the program. And so I'm hoping that these subs and things like that, those are going to go straight to student stipends so folks can make it through the program. So yeah, appreciate y'all. I really do. Thank you, everybody. Spending Jeff Bezos' money for good. There you go. Bezos bucks for good. All right. Some other things that we can take a look at. Things we can take a look at here. We talked about font family, meaning that if we want a specific font to be used, right? If we want Roboto, or my favorite font is Source Sans Pro. If we want a specific font, we don't have those fonts, right? We don't have those fonts. And so we need those fonts. And so one way we can do it is we can use Google Fonts, which will link out and enable us to download that font file. And once we have the correct font link, we inside of our CSS can list font family and put the name of the font that we just downloaded or linked to. Okay. Font weight is also kind of done at the same stage. Like if you've gone to Google Fonts, you're going to have the ability to select not only a regular font file, but font files for different weights. And so if we look at this font file, we have a 300, which is typically regarded as a thin, 400, which is typically regarded as a regular, and 700, which is typically regarded as a bold. And so what we can do here is not only can we use the font family, but we can also do font weight at that specific number, and that's going to give us the boldness. All right. Jersey Boss Babe said, is it better to download the font or link to them? It kind of depends. I typically will have the fonts be rendered via something called a CDN, or a content delivery network, that's of my own choosing. There have been very, very rare instances where like Google hosted stuff has gone down. And if you don't have appropriate backups, you can be a little bit kind of in the dark. And so I always make sure I have a backup, and we'll talk more about how to handle like where to put your font files and like how that gets to everyone, and like is it better like download speed when we get a little bit further along, like once we get past responsiveness. We're going to come back and talk a lot about that. So while right now it's kind of a little up in the air, we're going to come back to talk about how to set up your site appropriately so things download fast and efficiently. We're going to have a whole class on accessibility too, to make sure that our sites are all accessible, and so that'll be kind of like probably within a week or so once we get past responsiveness. Oh, we got a hydrate. Who was the original hydrate from? Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to scroll up here. Oh no. don't see it. Oh, Dragonoid. I think that was the hydrate. Alyssa with the hydrate. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Oh, Cyber Ninja. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate y'all. Boom. Alrighty. So let's look at we looked at color, we looked at font family, we looked at font weight. And remember, George, if you can help with accessibility class, reach out to me, send me a DM. I would love to see what you have to say. If you don't know how to use a property, you don't know the values for a property, you don't know, you kind of have an idea what you want to do to your content, but you don't know what properties to use, that's the MDN. The MDN is the hands down best resource for all of this. You should have it up on your screen, like just as a tab, just because you're going to use it that often early on for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you don't know how to do something, you don't know how to make something italicized, you forget how to do a border, your best thing you can do is have the MDN up to research, or you can like Google or DuckDuckGo and do like MDN, the thing you want to do, CSS, and then it'll pop up for you. So just keep coming back to it. Alyssa, thank you for posting it. Yeah, Miriam, I get some. I've heard that before, and I've seen it too. Sometimes the MDM can be a little bit hard to move through, and so you can just use Google or DuckDuckGo. Dev Henry, hey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. So you can use Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever. People are saying Ask Jeeves, Dogpile. Wow, I haven't thought about these in a while. What was my first search engine? Probably Alta Vista. I do remember like going to my mom's work to use the computer and asking Jeeves questions. So I've been around for a little bit. All right. So yeah, if sometimes Google and DuckDuckGo are better at finding stuff on the MDN than MDN is. And so you can always just go that way too. I'm curious. Everybody put in chat what your first search engine was. I'm curious. First search engine. Let's see. Whatever Netscape had, Juno, Ask Jeeves, Yahoo. Wow, Ask Jeeves was really popping. Whatever AOL gave us, Netscape gave us, Encyclopedia Britannica, the library, whatever CompuServe. Wow. Wow, chat. Net Zero. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I was curious. These are like, so many of these are just like nostalgia bombs. Like, wow. I haven't thought of these in a long time. That's cool. All right. Thank you for sharing. OnlyFans was your first. All right. So let's code some basic CSS. So in today's starter materials, there is a folder called basic CSS. That's what we're going to go to. If you don't have the materials, you can do !Discord, join the Discord, agree to the rules, and then the follow along materials channel will be all the materials we need for today. Y'all remember Google for Kids? Bonnie, I don't remember Google for Kids. That's awesome. I never even heard of that. I do remember like Disney internet, and I remember like my mom trying to get Disney internet, and like in 2 minutes I was outside of Disney internet. All right, go ahead and get the folders, get them open. I'm going to give everybody a second to do that. I'm going to open it on my end. I always just open the material. I always unzip it. Remember to unzip, and then open the folder. Linux OnlyFans for research purposes. I'll tell you about a conversation I had with my wife. There's a couple of I'm always trying to think of like, so what I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. I started lots of companies. I've raised a bunch of venture capital, and I'm always looking for like services that could sit on top of like what I would assume are going to be like a big business. And so I've missed some waves here and there. Like like the big one that was a big wave for a while, where like all of the services where you can sell clothing out of your like you can like take clothes out of your closet and flip them, right? And all the services that came up from that. Then there are so many tools that popped up to help you do that better. And so I'm always really attuned to those types of things. And so I had to have a conversation with my wife that was, I think OnlyFans is going to be really big. Can I build tools to help creators on OnlyFans? And so we agreed, like, yeah, it's a great opportunity. So I've been doing my research. So you're saying OnlyFans for research purposes. I really have been doing OnlyFans for research purposes. Everybody's like, yeah, nah, all right, cool. Sure. Yeah. All right, so here we have is the basic CSS 2. That's what I'm looking at. Inside, we're going to have some HTML. We have a lovely style sheet that has nothing in it, right? And here we have different elements, and we have, please let the LIs be blue underlined so that you can see that there are some text here. All right, there is some text here. What I want you to go ahead and do is follow the text to style the content. All right, I want you to go through, do each of these to style the content based on what it tells you. We're going to put some time on the timer here. I just love, like, my favorite thing about the stream is y'all have no idea if I'm like serious or not. That's my favorite part of this. Like, so many people ask me, Leon, do you really watch The Bachelor? Or like, Leon, are you really building an app for OnlyFans? And you'll never know. You'll never know if it's true or not. You just won't. Diabolical's like, we all know. We already know it's all true. Yeah, this has been the best stream ever. I'm already banned from Domino's. Yes, I am. All right, we're going to put some time on the clock here. I'm going to put 5 minutes on and go ahead. Give this a good old 100 devs try. Why does Jeff Bezos keep buying nightclubs? Wonderful. That's hilarious. All right. I'm going to bring some tunes on. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not revealing any gems during these 5 minutes. I want you to go ahead, work on this. We're going to review it, and then we're going to take a break. I'm in Khalif. Thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. All right, I'll bring up some music. I'm not sharing anything important. Try and get this done. We're going to go over it together, then take a break. If you have questions, come back and ask those questions. Count the Shell said Domino's plug-in for OnlyFans. Dewey Dunker, I used to get those discs all the time. I used to love people that, like, there are people that did like art installations with them. Like, they would use them to like make like cool like murals and stuff like that. Hey Tay, we start networking next week. We're gonna have a class on it on Thursday, and then next week we're gonna start it up. So yeah, if you already got started, that's cool, but expectation is starting next week. This is the basic CSS 2. Hey KJ, you have to open the folder in Atom or the specific file. You can typically just drag the folder to Atom and it will open, or you can do file open and it will open, but make sure you've definitely unzipped it first. Cody, it really depends on the content. Typically, the actual text will be wrapped in an anchor tag, and it depends on what the containing element is. So yeah, it kind of depends. If you had like some code you had a question about, you could share it, and I'm happy to take a peek, maybe on Discord. Miriam, done already? Well done, well done. Ghost said, how long does it take to recover from arm pains and eye strain? It takes me some time. I'm very attuned to my wrist pain, and as soon as I start to feel a twinge, I stop. Like I figure out how to do something differently. And so my whole setup is all about like moving. And so I'll talk about that. I actually want to talk about, I think that's important. So I'm going to wait until people come back and then we'll talk about that. That's a good topic, Ghost. Hey, KG. Cody, it can be both. It depends on the scenario. For now, I would just put the content that you want to be a link inside the anchor tag, and that's what I would worry about. Blah, blah, blah. Done. What? All right, let's go. Erica done. Nice. Blow done. MJ Untitled done. Nice. Topher done. Kayla done. Wilson done. Wolfpack done. Dope. Hey, Leon, what are your thoughts on the new Apple Silicon Macs? Just curious. I am super pissed. The new 13-inch MacBook Pro being maxed out at 16 gigabytes of RAM. Get out of here. Get out of here. I was so ready to upgrade. No way. And the RAM is unified, so it's like also part of like the GPU. I don't know. I gotta do more research, but I was pissed to see that maybe the 16 gigabytes is way more efficient. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but that seemed wild to me. Look at all these folks coming in done. Nice. Good job, everyone. Noel, I'm happy to go through my like setup environment on office hours. Happy to do that. I'm just using standard Atom with the open in browser plugin. That's pretty much it. It's the only big thing I use regularly on stream. Do we have any class on GitHub? Absolutely, but not until later on. I don't like folks learning Git and GitHub too early. I find it way too confusing for most folks. So I like to introduce it much later. Done. All right, folks. Come on back. Come on back. Let's take a look at this together. I'm going to kill the music here. All right. Don't worry if you didn't get it. That's all right. We're going to go over it together. Then we're going to take a break. And then when we come back from the break, we're going to keep pushing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Please make the LIs blue, underline 15 pixels, and have a gray background. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and then bring it over to my style sheet. Turn that into a comment. Remember, if you highlight the whole thing, it's a little bit bigger. If you highlight the whole thing and then do command / or control /, it'll comment it. And remember, a comment is so that we can see it, but the browser won't read it when it comes to rendering it. All right, so I'm going to target my LIs. I'm going to make them color blue. Cool. I'm going to make them text decoration underline. And I'm going to make them font size 15 pixels. And they're going to have a gray background, so I'm going to do background gray. Cool. And don't worry, I am going to share this file. So if you're like frantically trying to type along, don't worry. We're going to make sure that you get access to everything. I always forget that I haven't restarted my computer. I got to restart my computer for that to work again. I'm just going to open it so y'all can see me opening it too. So I'm going to go ahead and just open my HTML file. And I'm going to open that HTML file directly into my Chrome, and that will open the file for me. So here I'm going to show you let me bring this on screen. Cool. Here we go. Here are my class 4 materials. If I go to basic CSS2, I'm going to just drag it and then it'll open. Open in browser works. I got to restart my computer because I messed with my plugins. And then you could also do file open. You could do it many ways of opening it, but that's all I'm going to do here. So we see that it's blue, it's underlined, has a gray background. All right. Let's look at the next one, folks. Leon said, "Graphic designer who?" Exactly. I'm not. These are gonna look beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? All right, let's grab this next one, folks. Let's go back to the CSS. Let's paste it. I'm gonna highlight it, and I'm gonna turn it into a comment. Cool. Please make this section have a height of 300 pixels. Let's go and target the section. Height, 300 pixels. Cool. Light purple background. What did y'all use for light purple? What did y'all do for light purple? Background. Plum. Oh, that's a good one. It's a color keyword. That's cool. All right. I'm going to trust Knox here. I'm going to grab Knox's for light purple and see what we got. All right, there we go. That was their light purple. And let me go ahead and give a gold border that's 5 pixels thick. So border, remember it's always size, color. Oh, sorry, size, type, and then color. So let's do solid and then gold. Cool. So that should give us a height of 300 pixels, a background of light purple, and a solid gold border. That's 5 pixels thick. And is my page saved right now? Nope. How can you tell? Blue dot. Cool. If we look, there's a blue dot. Reflection. There's a blue dot up there. Right? That blue dot tells me it's not saved. So I'm just going to do my quick save, which is Command S. I've saved it. I'm going to go back to my browser and I'm going to refresh. So I just do Command R to refresh. Control R works similarly on your device. And there you go. Beautiful. Barney would be proud. All right. Let's go back and take a look. Let's do the next one. Please make this H1 30 pixels, gold, centered, and Source Sans Pro. Let's go ahead and copy. I'm going to go to my CSS here. I'm going to paste it. Going to highlight it. And then once I highlight it, I can go ahead and turn it into a comment. Cool. Give myself a little bit of room here. And somebody said, how do you get the RGB? You have to look it up. You can use a color picker tool. Macs have a digital color meter built in. You can always look up like color wheels and things like that are great ways to get colors. Flo said, dang, that's light purple right there. All right. Let's make the H1. We're going to do a font size. We're going to, font size of 30 pixels. We're going to make it gold. So we're going to do color gold. We're going to do centered. So we can try something like text align center for now, which you should have got from the reading. And then we want to use a font family called Source Sans Pro. So Source, which is also my favorite font, Source Sans Pro. I'm going to give it a fallback of Helvetica. And I'm going to give it a fallback of sans serif. Cool. Now we have one problem here. That is we don't have the font. All right. So how can we get the font, chat? Yeah, we need to go get the Google font. So we can use the Google font for this. Some folks are already posting it in the chat, which I love. I'm going to save this file. I'm going to go back to my browser just to show you that process again. So we're going to go ahead and do fonts.google.com. You can search for it. Source, there we go. Source Sans Pro. And I'm just going to grab the regular for right now. And once I select the regular style, I can just go ahead and grab this link. If I didn't know how to put the font family, it also gives that to you right there. I'm just going to take this link. I'm going to go back to the head of my HTML, and I'm going to put it right before my style sheet, right? There we go. So there we go. Remember, we always want to put it right before our style sheet because that then gives our style sheet access to that font. If we were to put that link below our style sheet link, then our CSS might not have access to that font. And so we put it before so we get that font. Hilarious. It's just font.google.com. Sorry, fonts.google.com. So you can just go there, fonts.google.com. Alyssa beat me to it. Thank you, Alyssa. And that's how I get there, and that's what I use. Cool. Now, there are other things that you're going to eventually see, like importing and stuff like that. We'll get there down the line. For now, just use the links. Like I said, we're going to have whole classes on like optimizations and best practices and clean code when it comes to HTML and CSS. But for now, just use the links. We're still learning. All right, let's do the last few here. All right. Please make this footer have a dark background, 300 pixels in height, and only 70% width. So let me go here and put that in. Gonna highlight it to make it a comment. Cool. Svrendran, thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. Sorry, I didn't say your name correctly. All right. So let's go ahead and do footer. Let's go ahead and do a dark background. Ooh, folks already giving me dark background. I'm going to grab funny commentaries. I trust funny commentary. Thank you for all the gifted subs. All right. So we have a lovely background with some RGB for our dark brown. Somebody said, hey, do I do it in like the order of the properties? Does it matter? Like, do you put them in a certain order? Right now, I'm not putting it in any order. When I'm like writing like production code, I'm just consistent. I have certain things I like to come first, and I like some things that doesn't matter what order they come in. So I'm just consistent. I always put like height and width first. Like that's one of the things I do. And so anybody that was like on my team would notice that. It's going to really come down to your team or personal preference. I find alphabetical order a little bit hard for me to do with all the properties that I might be writing, so I don't do it. I'm just consistent with the order of things across elements. Yeah. Cool. Let's go ahead and do height. Like I said, we're going to finish this up. We got one more, and then we're going to take a break. And only a width of 70%. So we're going to do width and then 70%. So if I was like doing this and I wasn't like following the order like that's in the comment, I would have done my height and width first. It's just kind of like a pattern I keep. Alyssa said, do you have socks on at the moment? No. I almost never wear socks. What an odd question. I appreciate you, so I'll answer the question. No, I always wear my chunkless. Hold on. So I always have these on. These are Target, I believe, Goodfellow slippers. So I always wear those. Wait, is this a bingo thing? All right, I don't know what that was. What are those? Telefag, nice. Callium got banned for that one. Well, not banned, got filtered for that one, but that was funny. All right. Is everything bingo? Always has been, Jeezy. Cool. That's the footer. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and take a peek real quick. So I'm going to refresh. There we go. 70%. Notice we got some things. Hello, Mixer. What a meme. And then I think we have one more. Let's do that together, and then we're going to take a break. Oh, I forgot strike through. Hold on, I'll grab that when we go back. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Please make this text have a line through it, and that's the H2. So let's come here. Let's do the H2, and we'll do text decoration, line through. There we go. So let's go ahead and save that up. And let's go back to our browser to make sure. And refresh. There we go. And we see Hello Mixer has the line through. Rip Mixer. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go back to the CSS just to keep it here so y'all can take a peek. But yeah, so this is a pretty good one. Should have been some space repetition for folks that have done this one in the past, but we were able to go through and style our LIs, our section, our different content here. And like, as always, this will always be shared on Discord after class. So we've been going for about an hour and 16 minutes, definitely overdue for a break. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock here, and please get up, please take a break. Dark O'Neill, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the sub. Or Dak O'Neill. Decon Neil. Yeah. I'm going to say Decon. Thank you, Decon. I appreciate you. Thank you for the sub. So let's go and put 5 minutes on the clock. Going to bring up some tunes. Please get up. Leave your computer. Stretch. Hydrate. Get some water. I'm just chilling out, answering some questions. I'm going to do some stretching too. Alyssa redeemed the stretch. Thank you. All right. Oris T said, go kiss your loved ones. Absolutely. Go kiss your loved ones. I'm going to stretch. Yeah, I'm going to kill the camera real quick. Boom. Oh, yeah. I'm back. Yeah, Shrimp, the code's always shared on Discord. So you just go on Discord, always look at the follow along materials channel. Everything will be there for you. Linux, I'm around 80 words per minute. I'm on a really new, weird keyboard. Well, not really new. I've been using it for a little while, but I'm on a Kinesis Advantage 2, so I'm working up to what my speed used to be. This is my keyboard. It's weird because I have wrist pain. So I'm not as fast on it as I am on a regular keyboard, but I like it. I got to talk about that when we get back. Ghost asked, I want to talk about like hand pain and stuff like that. Cookie codes, yeah. I actually got one for free, which is a wild story. I don't know if I can say it without. So we were looking for a new building to move into, and like for our nonprofit, and we're touring this building that was set to be like not like demolished, but like everything was getting thrown in the garbage. And sitting in the corner was a Kinesis Advantage 2. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're saying everything that's here is going in the garbage? And the guy was like, yeah. I was like, can I have that keyboard? And they looked at me like I was really weird. They're like, yeah, I guess you can have that keyboard. I was like, thank you. And I like took the keyboard underneath my arm, and like we continued the tour, and that's how I got a Kinesis for free. Yeah. Ooh, Mech Market's a good place to go. I like that, Dumic. It's a Kinesis Advantage 2 is the keyboard I use. I have really severe wrist pain, and so I use this keyboard and this mouse, and I switch between that mouse and my trackpad, and I have a standing desk, so half the day I'm standing, half the day I'm sitting, and I switch between it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. And so that was the super win. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, count the shells. I like that. That's cool. Like buy once, cry once. Yeah. Mayu said, how to deal with motivation issues. The thing that was told to me is that like motivation comes and goes, discipline lasts forever. So I always tell people early on, you want to focus on discipline, not motivation. And so I think a good thing that if you're trying to start off with discipline is the video I shared today for you to watch before class. It kind of talks about how to build fundamental discipline. It's actually a shorter version of the whole talk and a book that I actually kind of recommend. So yeah, make your bed. That's how you start. He has a book. I'm blanking on the title right now, but he has a book on it. If you haven't gotten up, get up, stretch, please. Grab some water, hydrate before we come back and keep going. Take care of yourself. All right. Sorry, I just set up some things off stream here. Cool. What? Milk the udders. Thank you for the sub. All right, folks, come on back. Come on back. Come on back. Gonna kill the music. Let's get back into this, folks. Come on back. Milk the udders. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. Where booty liquor at though? Y'all be wild with these names. Alyssa, once we kind of get, I think maybe next week I'll spend some time talking about like holiday schedule, and so I'm gonna try and be respectful of kind of all the holidays that we have coming up. So I just need another couple days to plan it, and then we're going to kind of talk about that next week. Cool. Come on back, folks. If you're grabbing some water, come on back. We're about to get started. Ghost asked a question, and I think it's really important to talk about. I have shared in the past Dr. Levi's video, Dr. Levi, the fitness doctor, that is. And he has a video that talks about hand health and like how to keep your hands and arms going. And it's really important. I'm going to share it again in Discord because it's super important. You want to make sure that you're staying healthy. For a lot of you, you're doing repetitive stress to your fingers, your wrist, your forearms, your shoulders, right? That you might not have done for a long time. Especially if you haven't really been typing this much, because I'm asking you to do a lot every day. I'm asking you to practice your Anki every day. I'm asking you to be consistent every day. Eventually, I'm going to be asking you to do a daily coding challenge. That's a lot of repetitive stress, a lot of sitting, a lot of things that are going to make it so that it's going to exacerbate like the flexion and the tension you have. And so, yeah, Tony, it's the guy that teaches gamers how to work out their hands. It's some of the best videos I've ever found that have significantly reduced my wrist pain. When I was running my first company, me and my co-founder would just write and code, and like I would be emailing until like 4:00 in the morning. He'd be banging out code until 4:00 in the morning, and we just like didn't take care of ourselves. And probably about like 3 to 6 months into that experience, some brown boy, thank you for the hydration. About 3 to 6 months, cheers to you. 3 to 6 months into that process, I started to feel like really bad wrist pain. And at first it was like just a little tinge I would feel. And eventually it was at the point where I like had to wear a wrist brace and I literally couldn't use my right hand. And we take in cohorts of 30 for resilient coders. And I tell them every single time, at least 3 of you are going to go to the hospital. Like at least 3 of you are going to go to the hospital because of hand issues, or at least like the doctors. Row 25, I appreciate you. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Right. And so it's always at least 3. Like we're talking like 10%. And every single cohort, Since I have started teaching at Resilient Coders, past 4+ years, every single cohort, at least 10% of folks had to go to the hospital or to the doctor, or something bad has happened to like their hands. So we have over 400 people watching right now. And I hope you're committed to learning how to code. I hope that you're ready for this whole journey. If that's 10%, we're looking at 40 individuals that are going to go to the hospital as a result of not listening to what I am saying right now. You have to take care of yourself, right? That means taking breaks. That means getting up and stretching. That means taking your eyes away from a screen and just focusing for a few seconds. It's little things that are going to keep you going for a long time. So in Discord, I'm going to share my stretching routine. In Discord, I'm going to share my hand and wrist exercises routine, and I'm going to share a quick thing to do like at the top of the hour that keeps your body moving. Do these things. If you're doing marathon coding sessions, you're learning to code, you're putting in all this time on the keyboard that you might not have naturally done before, you're going to want to do these things. Even if you're like, Leon, I type all the time. I've been playing MMOs since I was 5, right? Great. The keyboard presses that you're going to be using might be different now. Like your pinky doesn't do this in normal typing. This is you hitting like accessory keys. This is you hitting colon and all these things that we don't normally hit over and over and over and over and over and over again. You're going to be stretching and flexing your hands in ways that you've never have before. And so you want to make sure that you're getting some good exercise in terms of like stretching and rest. And so please, if you're taking this class, please take this seriously. When I ask you to get up and go stretch, please do it. Just a 2-second break of getting up, doing a quick squat and coming back is going to be wonders. I'll share the video. He has a series of exercises that he does. He recommends shaking out your hands, and he recommends running them underneath underneath warm water. All these things are important. Jeezy, thank you for the posture check. Then proper typing posture, using tools like folx to take care of your eyes. All of these can be important, but I'm going to share them all in Discord after class. I'm going to put all these like safety things into Discord, and so you'll have them all there. So just wanted to throw that out there since folks were talking about it. Correct. Thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate you. Thank you. I always love the gifted subs. All right, let's keep going. Rant over. All right, let's talk about selecting elements based on their relationship. Okay. We have solved today with the basic CSS that we just did that we were selecting elements and then styling those elements, right? What if we want to start getting more and more specific? Like, what if we want to start targeting specific paragraphs, but not all paragraphs? What if we want to target specific H2s, but not all the H2s? What if we want to target all the paragraphs that are in a section, but not all the paragraphs that are inside of an article? Well, the first thing we have at our disposal are these ability to select elements based on their relationship to other elements. Like, are they inside of another element? Are they siblings, like near another element at the same level as another element? And so we can start selecting by relationship to target specific elements to style them uniquely. Before we get to classes and IDs, we have this idea of selecting by relationship. Okay. Alrighty. So here is a very simple direct child selector. We have a paragraph that is immediately inside of the section. There's nothing else between the paragraph and the section in terms of like encapsulation. The paragraph is directly inside the section. So we could target this paragraph two ways. We could say section space P, or we could say section right caret P. So here I have section right caret P. That's saying find me all the paragraphs that are immediate children of a section, meaning that there's no other containing element in between the section and the paragraph. Okay. The idea here being that if maybe there was an article around the paragraph, this wouldn't work. This is only paragraphs that are immediately inside of sections. So some folks are kind of asking, like, why would we ever need this? Well, we don't want to be doing IDs everywhere or classes everywhere because it might be too specific. We're often going to have anchoring elements, like the section might have a class on it or an ID on it, and then we can use nested selectors inside of that kind of anchored selection. So you're still going to see nested selectors all over the place. It stops us from having to put an ID or class on everything, right? We can put IDs and classes on like top level elements and then use the nested selectors to grab the stuff that's inside. Right. Cool. The relationship can be to a class or ID or Rossi. Absolutely. Cool. And we'll see that kind of as we go along and do more and more. We'll start seeing how our selectors mature and how we kind of use them appropriately. For now, we're kind of focused on the rules, and then we'll kind of put it into practice to see it. Cool. Here are parent-child selectors. So it's kind of what we were talking about, where this still works, right? This is still going to target the paragraph, even though there's another parent in between the article and the section. So in this case, the section is a grandparent. The article would be the direct parent of the paragraph, but this still works. This section space P works because we're saying any paragraph, no matter how deep inside of the section, doesn't matter if it's wrapped in 40 articles to get to that paragraph, right? The idea here being that we want to go ahead and make sure that it's targeting any paragraph, no matter how many parents it's nested inside of, this will still work. If I was to go ahead and do right caret P, this would no longer work, right? The paragraph is not a direct child of the section. It's a child of the section, but the paragraph is the direct child of what, chat? Chat here, what is the paragraph the direct child of? Yeah, there we go, chat. The article. The paragraph in this instance is the direct child of the article. We can see that it's the direct child because the paragraph is inside the article first and foremost. And then the paragraph is still technically inside the section, but that makes the section a grandparent and not a direct parent. Cool. The last one we covered so far are siblings. And so we can look at the immediate sibling with a plus sign. Okay. So here, if I wanted to target YouTube and make it red, I could say, all right, find me a paragraph whose immediate sibling, meaning on the same level, not like a nested relationship, on the same level is another paragraph. So in this case, I'm going to find YouTube because the immediate sibling is a paragraph, and this will be colored red. Okay. Twitch will not be colored red because it does not have a sibling that comes immediately before. There's no other sibling above Twitch, so it's not going to be red. Only YouTube is red here because that's the only paragraph that has a paragraph that immediately comes before it. Cool. Correct. The first paragraph won't be red. Nice. All right. Let's code some relationships, folks. So if we go ahead and we look at our starter code for today, I'm going to go ahead and open up the relationship CSS2. This is the name of my folder here, relationship.css2. And so here we go. So we have some relationships at play here. We have two H2s inside of a section. We have two H2s inside of an article that's inside of a section. And we have an H2 duck. And so there are lots of relationships here. And then the CSS is going to ask you to make certain things have certain styles. And you'll notice I'm asking you to do this without classes or IDs. Okay. So without classes or IDs, I want you to go ahead and make this content a certain color or do what it tells you to do in the style.css. So I'm going to go ahead and give you, let's do 4 minutes on the clock here. Take 4 minutes. See if you can make all of these work. No worries. You're going to try and get as far as you can go. There may be a bamboozle. You never know. All right. I'm going to put some music on while you're working. Just vomit. Doesn't care if it's right or wrong. Get some things on the board. See if you can get it working. No fear. Start slinging code. See if it works. Cool. Have at it. Go for Mitch said, so if we had 3 stacked, the last 2 would be red. Yes, Mitch, they would both, the last 2 would both be red. If you wanted to make Twitch blue and YouTube red, you could select all the paragraphs to make it blue and then just override YouTube to be red. All right, folks. Keep going. Work hard. Dig in. Get your code vomit out. It's all right. You'll clean it up later. Dover tries done already. Wow. Well done. Well done. Congrats. Subtoast done. Nice. MPF dev done. Well done. Ooh, look at everybody coming in. All right. So I guess we only need 2 minutes for some of these. Don't worry, keep working if you're still working. You got a solid 2 minutes left. Get as far as you can go. Ooh, look at these walls are done. I love it. Unicorn. Hufflepuff gang. That's what I'm talking about. Got my lovely Hufflepuff mug here off screen. There we go. Got a rep. Is there a difference between gray and gray with an E and A? They both work. One is the UK spelling. That's where most people, well, I mean, it could be more than just UK spelling, but you're going to see it in like the UK English. And so, yeah, they both work. I actually mix it up. I will spell it with an E sometimes and an A some other times. And so I just catch myself for these classes, but I spell it both ways too. In general, we want to do something like this, or we just use a class or ID. If you had a section, you might put a class or ID on it, and then depending on how complicated the stuff inside your section was, they might have their own classes or IDs, or you might just use nested selectors to go in and grab the stuff that's inside the thing that has the class or ID. I tend to really not use IDs. I typically really only use classes because IDs are too specific. So I use classes with a combination of nested selectors. And we'll talk about like why doing it with just nested selectors would be a problem once folks get back. See you, the beast. Done before the timer for once. Hey, glad to see you finish early. Well done. All right. Come on back, folks. If you're working, come on back. Come on back. Going to kill the music. All right. So, come on back. So, somebody asked, hey, Leon, why wouldn't we use nested selectors everywhere? And there's one kind of like reason why we wouldn't just use nested selectors everywhere. Like for this exercise, we're obviously using them. But could you imagine you built out a full website, like hundreds of lines of HTML, right? hundreds upon hundreds of lines of HTML, lots of nesting everywhere. And then somebody comes along and adds one section where they shouldn't, right? If they add one section where they shouldn't, well, then a lot of your nested selectors might no longer work, right? Like if they were relying on the structure of the HTML, somebody comes and messes with the HTML, well, that can throw off your nested selectors. And so for a lot of times, you don't want to anchor, meaning like that's not where you want to start. You're probably going to have like an ID or a class, and then you're going to use your nested selectors after that ID or class, so that you're already in the right area, and then you're just finding content in that right area. Don't worry about that for now. We'll get to that a little bit later on. I just wanted to answer that question. Do mix at 7.2 microleons. All right, you're coming for it. All right, let's take a look at the CSS. Please make only world and zebra blue. Only world and zebra blue. So let's go ahead and take a look at world and zebra. So world and zebra are inside of a section. Unicorn and Hufflepuff are also inside of a section, but they're not direct children because they're inside the article. And then duck is not inside of a section. So if we wanted to target just world and zebra, we can use, and chat's already there, the direct parent child. And so we can go ahead and do section, and we can do right caret H2, and that would grab only the H2s that were direct children of a section, and we can do color blue. Cool. All right, that would target just world and zebra and only those. So I can go ahead and open up the relationship selector and drag that over. And there we go. So we can see world and zebra are blue and nothing else is. Nice. And we can see why that works because it is they are direct children of the section. These H2s are not direct children of the section. They're direct children of the article. So that's why they're not getting blue, right? If I go ahead and I do this just to show it, not because it's right, if I save it and I go back and I refresh, now all four of them are blue, right? But since I just wanted world and zebra, I can use that direct child. There we go. Cool. Please make only zebra purple. All right. So we already know that we're targeting both of these H2s. So I can do H2 plus H2 to target zebra, but then that would also target Hufflepuff. So I have to keep this direct child in place. So I'm going to do section H2 to target all the H2s that are direct children of sections plus H2, right? So that's going to give me an H2 that is the direct sibling of an H2 that is directly inside of a section. And that should get me zebra. So let's go ahead and do color purple. Cool. Let's see what happened. Oh, we got a stretch. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure it works, and then I'll get my stretch on. Cool. So we can see zebra is purple, and that's it. All right. Let me get my stretch on. Thank you, Cum195. Thank you for the stretch. Be right back. Oh, yeah. Alrighty, there we go. Got my stretch on. Thank you for that. Need on-cam stretches. That's what the OnlyFans is for, folks. Yeah, people are gonna unlock the OnlyFans, and it's just gonna be me stretching. That'll be the OnlyFans. I wouldn't do that to you. You gotta get your money's worth, right? Alrighty. So people are saying, why not just H2 plus H2? Because that would target also Hufflepuff. And so if we run it just zebra, we have to make it in relation to something that distinguishes it from Hufflepuff. And that was being a direct child of the section. It's me stretching, hydrating, typing appropriately. All right, let's do the next one, folks. please make only Hufflepuff gold. So we kind of just talked about this. It's going to be the same pattern that we have here, except it's going to be the article. Yeah, it'll be the article because these are direct children of the article. This H2 is not inside of an article, so it won't work. So I am going to do, I'm going to do article. I'm going to do H2 plus H2, and I'm going to make it color gold. Now I can get away with both the plus and just the space. Both would work here because there's only one H2 sibling pair inside of an article, right? Like if I go back and I look, yeah, this H2 is inside of an article, but it doesn't have a sibling. This H2 does have a sibling, which is unicorn, and is inside of an article. So I could get away with plus or just space here, right? Y'all be wild in chat sometimes. It's funny. All right, let's go ahead and save this. Let's go back and refresh, make sure we're looking good. All right, Hufflepuff is gold. Nice. Let's do the last one. Please keep Hufflepuff gold and make only unicorn gray. I think this was the hard one, right? So if we go back and look, unicorn is gray. We want to make that gray and Hufflepuff stay gold. So what I can do is if I want to target unicorn and Hufflepuff, I can do section article H2, and that would target both of them, right? Section article H2 would target both of these. So that's where I'm going to start. The reason why I wouldn't just do article H2, because then we would wind up with duck as well. So I'm going to do section article H2. Let's start there. Section article H2. So it's going to find all the H2s that are inside the article, that are inside of a section, and let's make them color gray. All right. And what we're going to see is that should make both Hufflepuff and unicorn gray. Let's just make sure. Yep. So unicorn and Hufflepuff are gray. Right. And so if we come back, we can say like, all right, how can I make it sit so that unicorn stays gray, but Hufflepuff becomes gold? Well, the easiest thing to do would just be to do this. Right? I'm just going to cut and paste. And now we can have the cascade coming to our benefit. So let me go back. Let me refresh. And so now unicorn stays gray. Hufflepuff is gold because I'm using the cascade to my benefit, right? I'm using the cascade to my benefit. So what's happening on line 12, right? What's happening here is that both H2s inside the article, inside the section are now gray. And then I go further down the cascade and just the sibling or just the second H2 is then made to be gold, right? So I'm using the cascade to my benefit. They're all gray to start. And then as I go down the cascade, just one goes gold. So I didn't need to use, I see a lot of folks mentioning like pseudo selectors and stuff like that. Those work, but you can do it without it using the cascade to your benefit. Cool. There are some other ways to do these too. What else did you all find? Okay, there you go. Cool. Ain't nobody got time for ducks. Alrighty. Is the cascade more efficient than being more specific? Not necessarily. If you can be more specific and that's how you want to do it, sure. If you want to use the cascade, you can. I wanted to show the cascade, but you can do it by being, you should be able to accomplish this by being more specific as well. Cool. All right. If you come to office hours on Saturday, we're going to play around with a lot more of these. And so we can come back to this and try different ones. And so on Saturday, we're going to do more practice like this. So if you want to see more, come on back. Juanita George, hey, thank you for the sub. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So happy to have all guys. Me too. I'm glad to have you all back. All right, let's go back. Let's learn about the new topic, and then we'll take another break. Went by pretty fast. Alrighty. Back to the slides, folks. All right. Let's talk about IDs and classes again. Knox, yeah. Office Hours is a separate stream on Saturdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's just a chance for us to get caught up, for people to ask questions. If you're stuck on anything, if any of the homework gave you problems, it's just like Office Hours. It's a chance for us to review. No set lecture or anything like that. I just ask for your questions and I answer your questions. Cool. So we have IDs and classes. Once again, we're just going to hint at these classes and IDs. We'll start using them more and more as we go on. IDs are a unique identifier. They enable us to target one element and only one element. If you give something an ID, it can't get more than one ID. Each element can only have one ID. And then once you use that ID name, it cannot be used anywhere else. If you're on Discord, you have a unique ID that ties your Discord name to you and only you. Nobody else can have that ID name. That's what we're talking about here. Classes, multiple elements can have the same class. Each element can have as many classes as you pretty much want. There is like a theoretical limit. I've tried pushing it. I haven't been able to hit the limit. So we have classes, we have IDs, and an element can have one ID and it can have as many classes as it wants, right? Now, classes are a way of tying, right? There is a way of tying multiple things to an element based off of the class. So I have a class of fabulous hair. I have a class of glasses. I have a class of beard, right? So I am one element, but I have many different classes that are giving me style, right? Same thing in our HTML. Our HTML, you're going to have an element that can have all these different classes that give it certain styles that can then be reused across folks, right? So there are some folks watching this that have the class glasses. There are some folks that are watching it that have class beard. There are a few of us that have class amazing hair, right? And so we can reuse these classes across elements. All right. Now, I didn't say who. All right. I didn't say who. It's a wig. Wouldn't that be like the biggest reveal of all time if I'm just like one day I'm just like, yeah. Cool. All right. Now remember, we saw the cascade pull on. I've never seen Leon pull on it. Now, today we saw the cascade at work, right? Content on OnlyFans. I agree, Telescope. Amen. The idea here is that we saw the cascade in action. We were able to override a rule that came above because there is the same level of specificity. So if we want to be able to use the cascade to our benefit, we have to understand the specificity at play. Each selector gets 1 point for a tag, gets 10 points for a class, gets 100 points for an ID, and 1,000 points for other. Bang important inline styles, things like this. Habdamus, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Thank you very much. All right. So if we're looking at this selector, how many points of specificity does this selector have? Chat, go ahead and put it in chat. Diabolical, I believe, with the first one. Nice. Coordinate, nice. Filthy little hobbits. Nice. Cool, yeah, it's 21. 21. All right, so it's 21 because we get 10 points for this class. 10 points for this class, 10 points for that class, giving us 20, and then 1 point for 21. All right. Cool. And we can see that class here. We can see that it has both the class of robot and unicorn. Nice. Dumbass. Cool. Chat. How many points of specificity does this selector have? 10 points for Gryffindor. Nice. Yeah, chat got it. 110 points. We have 10 points for Domino's Pizza because it's a class, 10 points, and then 100 points for the idea of Diet Coke. We can see it up here. It's paragraph. Oops, sorry. We're inside of a section that has the idea of Diet Coke, and then this element here has the class of Domino's Pizza. So that would work. It has both the class of Domino's Pizza and it's inside. Remember, the space is a parent-child relationship. So we're inside of something that has the idea of Diet Coke. Remember, when we see that space, parent-child relationship, we're looking for something that has the class of Domino's Pizza that's inside of something that has the idea of Diet Coke. So this works. Cool. So it's actually interesting. I could very easily build an app that would enable me to like assign points to the houses. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Right. That'd be a good idea. I built an app. I was annoyed by a video game that I was playing that has call outs for the heroes. And so like the heroes will say something, and then once the heroes say something, that's like their special ability. And so like if you hear a certain saying, you know you're about to get shot in the face. But from what I could research, there was no accessibility built into the game where it would tell you that that sound had been prompted. And so I used the Google Speech API to listen for those. Yeah, exactly, Omar. It's high noon, right? I was listening for those very specific sounds. And then once it heard the sound, it would flash a color on your cell phone. And so I got it working. And so I think I could do that for house points. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be a fun weekend project. What could we use for house points? I think that's something we need. So let's think about that. If you have any ideas about what we could use house points for, send them to me on Discord. I think I'm going to set that up over the weekend. I think that'd be fun. All right, let's keep going. Oh, OnlyFans, just more. whoever has the most house points, they get an early, it's like a third of the credit towards the OnlyFans. That's hilarious. I'm down. I'm happy to do what the community wants. All right, last one here. How many points of specificity for this rule, chat? How many points of specificity for this rule? It's over 9,000. Ooh, I see some people getting tripped up on this one. Nice. All right. It was sneaky. A sneaky Leon. All right, let's take a look. We get 10 points for the class. All right, we get 10 points for the class. And then we have a bang important. And that bang important, right? That bang important is 1,000 points, right? So we're looking at 1,010 points of specificity here. 1,010 points of specificity. So that means if you wanted to override this rule in the cascade, you would need something that had 10 plus IDs. We need 10 IDs in a class. You would need 100 classes, 101 classes, right? So it's really unlikely that your selectors will be that large. 10 IDs plus 100 classes plus 1,000 tags plus. Like, you're never going to override that. And that's the reason why these bang importance can be so disastrous in your code base is somebody's 2,000 lines below in your CSS banging their head against the keyboard, trying to make changes, and it's not working because you used a bang importance which made this rule worth 1,000 points, and they can just never override it. And so We talked about only like one appropriate time for when you should use bang important. Chat, when can we use bang important? It's Sabotage said, how dare they try and change my code anyway? Yeah, when you're up against a deadline, the client meeting's in an hour and you're still not done, you start slinging those bang importants everywhere. You're throwing up your code. And so, yeah, that's the only time you should be using them. Cool. Let's keep pushing, folks. I want to talk about one more thing, the box model, and then we're going to take a break and then we'll practice the box model. All right. The box model, which came up in the reading, I know some folks kind of struggled with it. Let's talk about it. The box model really just talks about how different elements take up space and how other elements can kind of relate to those elements, okay? So when we're talking about taking up space, eventually we want to move into this idea of layout, right? We want to be able to have stuff that's sitting next to other stuff. And so if we want things that are sitting next to other things, we got to have an idea of how much space they're taking up horizontally and how much space they're taking up vertically. Okay. That's all the box model really says. The box model says, here's how much space each element is going to take up. Okay. Now, the box model has three really important things that make it up. Okay. You have the height and width, you have padding, and you have the border. Some folks like to throw margin into the box model. I don't. Margin really helps push the box model around. Okay. Margin really helps push the box model around. But if you can understand width, padding, and border, or if you can understand height, padding, and border, that's all you really need to know about the box model. And the really important thing in HTML is that every bit of content, no matter if it's a span or a piece of text, no matter if it's a section, no matter if it's a heading, every single element in HTML is a box. It takes up height and width, right? It can have padding, can have a border, and can be pushed around by margin, right? So every single thing is a box. And so it doesn't matter what type of content it is, since it's a box, we have to know the rules of how those boxes are built, okay? So I'm gonna go to draw out the box model, and then we're gonna take a break. So I'm gonna go ahead and just draw a simple box here. Cool, all right. So let's go ahead and say we're gonna do a section. All right. And my section is going to have a height of 100 pixels and a width of 100 pixels. So according to the box model, if I have a section that has a height and a width of 100 pixels, I'm going to have a box that probably looks like this. Nice square. Okay. Right now, I can't read that. Blame the nuns. Don't blame me. It says height and width 100 pixels. If you're looking at this and you know that the section has a height and width of 100 pixels, according to the box model, right? According to the box model, how wide is my section right now? Chat. Right now, how wide is my section? Yeah, right now it's only 100 pixels wide. Okay. So if I had a container, let's say I had a section that was 300 pixels wide. Let's say I had an article. Let's say I had an article that was 300 pixels wide. How many sections could I fit? Three of these sections. Sorry, I gave out the answer. Damn it. How many of these sections could I fit inside of that article? 3, right? I could fit 3 of these sections inside of an article that was 300 pixels wide. So this is why the box model matters, right? The box model matters because we're going to start putting stuff inside of things. We're going to start putting stuff next to things, and we need to know how much room these elements are taking up. Okay. So right now, this is just taking up 100 pixels wide. Cool. Let's add a border. Booty Liquor coming in with the posture check. I appreciate you. Thank you. Let me sit up. Get going here. There we go. Spine. Thank you, Alyssa. All right. Cool. So here we have 100 pixels across. Let's go ahead and give it a border that is red. And let's go ahead and do a border. Let's just, for sake of math, 10 pixels, solid red. There we go. You're like, I'm really glad Leon types a lot. A border of 10 pixels solid red. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a border. Actually, let's make this thicker. I think I can do that. Let me make this thicker. Yeah, here we go. There we go. All right, here's my 10 pixel red border. Chat. Right now, how wide, how thick is this section? Dummy thick. Reptar. Yeah, chat. It's 120 pixels wide. The reason why it's 120 pixels wide is because we have 10 pixels here. We have 100 in the middle. And then we have 10 pixels on the right. Okay? So the question now being is, if I still had that 300 pixel container, right? If I still had that 300 pixel container, how many of these current sections could I fit inside that 300 pixels container, chat? Yeah, you're right. Dos. Only 2. I can only fit 2 of these current sections inside that container. That third section would break out. It would overflow to the next line. It would try and break out of that container. Okay? So this is why the box model matters, right? Right? That's why it matters, right? And so let's go ahead and add the last remaining option here, and that's padding. So I'm going to go ahead and change my color. Let's go ahead and use green. Keep the thickness here. I'm going to do padding. Padding. And I'm going to do, let's do 20 pixels. All right. So padding is interesting because if you just do 20 pixels, it's going to apply the padding on all sides, right? So let's be a little bit more specific here. Let's do padding right, just padding right. So I'm just going to do just padding right here. I'm going to erase this just to give myself a little bit of room. And I'm going to say just padding right. All right, so let's go ahead and do padding right. Padding right. And let's do 20 pixels. All right, for this to work now, I'm going to have to erase this right-hand side. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'm going to have 20 pixels of padding on the right-hand side. So here's my padding. Just going to fill that in. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to add my red border. Because the border's still going around the whole thing, right? The border's still going around the whole thing. There we go. Beautiful. Look at that. That's 3 years of every Saturday art education at work here, folks. Speedwagon said, not to scale. Love it. All right. So let's do it. We know that we have a width of 100 pixels. We know we have a border of 10 pixels on each side, and we have a padding right of 20 pixels. Chat, how wide is this element according to the box model? Yeah. All right, chat. I see you. 140 pixels wide. We have 10 pixels on the left, 100 pixels for the original element, 20 pixels of padding on the right, and then another 10 pixels on the right. So we have 10 plus 100 plus 20 plus 10 is 140. Right? We have 10 pixels on the left side, 100 pixels in the middle, 20 pixels on the right for the padding, and 10 pixels on the right for the border. 140. Kat said you can use the square tool and save you some pain, but then we don't wind up with these like beautiful artistic pieces. This people keep asking about merch. This is the merch right here. This is the logo. This is the 100 devs logo right here. Sold out. I love it. Sir codes. Merch is coming. Let me tell you what my idea for merch, and then we're going to take a break. So this is the box model, right? And then I'm going to tell you about merch, and then we're going to take a break. So this is the box model. The idea here is that there's really three things that you care about: width and height, padding, and border. And you can add border around the whole side. On all sides, you can just put them on some sides. You can put padding around the whole element or just some sides. And what you're seeing here with padding is that padding increases the distance between the element and its border, right? So let's say we had some text and we had a border going around that text. That border is going to be sitting on the text. If I wanted to be able to push the text away from the border, that's padding. Okay? So padding just increases the distance between the element and its border. Margin comes along and pushes the whole box around, including the padding, including the border, right? So some people like to include in the box model. I really don't. I feel like it pushes the box model around. So the idea here is that you have the element, the border going around it, and if you want some space between the border and the element, you put padding. That's it. That's all the box model really is it's just giving you some space between the border. And why it's important is because you got to keep track of it if you want to fit content inside of other containers, right? So like if you wanted to put this inside of another container, you might have to do the math and figure out, well, I can only fit like 2 or 3 of these inside. And that's why it comes into play. So we'll spend some time more on the box model. I know it can be a tricky concept, but it really is just that. There's height and width, padding, and border. Padding just increases the distance between the element and its border. Margin can come along and push the whole thing around. If I did margin top, it's going to come ahead and push this down. If I do margin left, it's going to push this to the right. And so that's it there. And everything in web development is a box. Cool. Serafina said, do web dev. They said there's no math, they said. It actually gets a lot easier at Flexbox. The math kind of goes out the window at Flexbox. So, but it's still important to know the roots and the basics. All right. I want to take a break. We're reaching the next hour. A shirt that says vomit your code. I love it. So I had an idea for merch. And I'm curious if you all would like this idea, and then we're going to take a break. The idea would be that like all the donations and all of the cheers and all of the subs, and that's always a donation to RC. I love being able to do that. But when people buy the merch, I was just going to make that another donation to RC, but I thought about doing something interesting. I was thinking about all the money that we make from merch goes into a pool, like a pool of money. So like we'll do a drop, and then all the money we make from that merch drop goes into a pool. And then come January 1st, or we'll start some other date, we're going to start the daily coding challenges, right? And you have to push code every day. And so I'm going to have a repo that you can push your code to. And so every day you're going to push your code to that repo. if you push code every day until we get to the last day of class, you have a shot at the pool of money that we made through merch. Right? So kind of like a monetary incentive for you to actually push your code every day. And so I think like we'd do the merch, whatever we make profit from the merch goes into that pool. And then everyone that pushes every day gets a shot at that pool. As soon as you miss a day, you don't get your shot. So I think we would start off with a lot of people, but by the time we get to like May, we'll probably be down to just at least a fewer folks, right? And then from that, we'll do like a live drawing on stream, and then whoever wins it gets that pool of money from the merch. What do y'all think about that? Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Cool. All right, I think that's what we'll do. We'll try and figure out something along those lines, because it seems like a lot of folks like the idea. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock again. Once again, please get up, stretch, hydrate, do what you got to do. Kiss your loved ones. Cool. Let me bring the timer over. I'm going to leave my horrendous drawings up just to confuse folks that come in. All right. There we go. Do what you got to do. Take a break. DN Bull with the hydrate. Cheers to you. Thank you. The box model looks like a TV screen. Yeah, it does. Take that. Hest 814. Thank you for the hydrate. Cheers to you. Get up, go, drink water, hydrate, stretch, move your hands, do a squat. Come back. Miriam, yeah, from the folks I've been looking at, like the suppliers for stuff, yeah. They should do overseas. Ooh, Knox, I like that idea. Like pick like the top couple of designs and then have folks choose them. I think it's a good idea. We had some folks that were helping me like brainstorm, so I'm gonna show the first run to them, and then I think it's a good idea to put it live for people to vote on. That'd be cool. Wolfpack, maybe there's a way to like buy back in. Maybe there's like you can use channel points to buy back in or something like that. I don't know. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, right? Like the idea that if you miss a day, yeah, we gotta think through it. I don't think this is the final iteration of it. I think it's just an idea I had, so I think we can figure out a way to like make people incentivized to stick to it long term. I would go off of like pushing to a GitHub repo, I think, Memphis. And so I would be able to see like if people pushed every day, and I would just have a script that would check to make sure, like check every day at like 12:01 or something like that. Cookie, I appreciate that. Nasty, hey, glad I can be of help. J-Wad said you should contact one of your nuns to design the shirts. That would be hilarious. That would sell out. I think everyone would buy an official nun drop. Ooh, I like that C1. Yeah, that'd be cool. Like a discount. Are logos Harry Potter influenced? Ooh, I'm not trying to get sued over here. Yeah, Manny, we Resilient Coders is on Smile. So if you do Smile for everyone, you can do smile.amazon.com and steal more of Jeff Bezos's money. They take a small percentage of whatever nonprofit you pick. Resilient Coders is on there, but so is like any other, like most nonprofits are on there if they like know about it. So yeah. Mac, can you make this drawing to an ugly Christmas sweater? Sure. I think this would be a funny one. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. I think like this, maybe without the tens, like I'm feeling that. I think that'd be a dope logo. Miriam, I'm not sure about the house points yet. I think it'd be fun to have some sort of system though. Alrighty. 50 seconds left, folks. If you haven't gotten up, please get up, stretch, drink a sip of water. Oh, manga, thank you. Yeah, no worries. The rights to the music is, if you go into our YouTube channel, in the YouTube like description is the music rights to the song. All right. Come on back, folks. Come on back. All right. Going to go ahead and kill the music. Hope you had a good break. Hope you got some water. Hope you hydrated. Let's keep a pushing, folks. Savage just recalled with my mom. She now understands elements have width and height. Padding comes between the border, and that all gets pushed around by a margin. I love it. Me and my wife active recall every night. She tells me about what she learned. I tell her about what I learned. It's one of my favorite ways of actively recalling, for sure. Cool. Let's keep moving. So we actually skipped. Thank you, Habdums. Thank you for the saying we skipped the specificity practice. So let's go ahead and do that. Got a little bit of active recall now. So we're gonna go jump right into the code. If you go ahead and open up specificity practice and you go to the CSS, you have some questions here. So you're gonna have to come back. We went ahead and now we're gonna go back. Get your active recall in, space repetition. All right. So you have some things here. Make the rhino and zebra blue, make Hufflepuff gold. And then some fun ones. Please select duck with the highest level of specificity possible. Please select rhino with the highest level of specificity possible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 4 minutes on the clock here. Please work through these and then we'll go over them together. All right, there we go. Have at it. 4 minutes and we'll go over them together. So if you go to the materials for today, specificity practice, we got some fun stuff here. It's kind of similar to what we saw earlier, but now there are IDs and classes on everything. So you're going to use them now to do some of the similar stylings that we did. Make sure you're doing Command Tab or Alt Tab if you want to quickly swap between two different things. Control Tab to swap between windows that are open in Atom. Yeah. So what do I mean by select? I mean choose a selector that is the most specific. So before we were just doing like H1, right caret P, like those were selectors. I want the selectors that are the most specific, meaning that they're going to have the greatest combination of IDs, classes, and everything. Power, it does. It does say that the homework release today is due on Thursday. It's going to be one of the rare instances where it's not due a week later. It's going to be due on Thursday. because I need you to get it done before we go into our review class on Thursday. That's why we're probably going to end a little bit. We're going to end right. Hopefully, I was trying to get done a little bit early, but I think we're going to end right at time. If we can, I'm going to try and squeak out a little bit early. That way you have a few minutes to work on it. Oh, Kayla done. Nice. Mesh 7878 done. Nice. Erica done. Well done, well done. Knox with the dunzo. Minute 45 left. Dig deep. Go as hard as you can. Try and really get those selectors as big as possible. As specific as possible. Alrighty. Let's go. Dig deep. You got this. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Got some more dones. Nice, nice. About a minute left. Oh, I didn't have the music going. Let's bring the music back up. Or is it going? It's just taking the break. There we go. Alrighty, folks. You got this. Your IDs and class names, your IDs and class names should not have spaces. I like to use something called a camel case, where the first word is lowercase, every other word is capitalized. Some teams will use space, some teams will use underscores or hyphens, but never spaces, because that'll be treated as two different elements. Alrighty, folks, 20 seconds left. You got this. How do we combine relationship and class IDs? You can use them interchangeably. So instead of doing like article space P, you could do class space P, and that would work. Yeah. So like spaces inside the class names is what I'm talking about. Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Come on back. Come on back. Even if you're still working, come on back. Let's do it together. All right, let's look at these together. Please make only rhino and zebra blue. Let's go and take a look at rhino and zebra. All right, rhino and zebra. They both have the class Africa, and they both have the class 4 legs. Does anything else have the class Africa or 4 legs? No. Nope. So I could use just the class Africa. I could use just the class 4 legs. I could use their IDs. So I'm just going to use one of the classes. Let's go ahead and do 4 legs. 4 legs. And then let's do color blue. Cool. So that would make rhino and zebra blue. Let's go ahead and open this up. And we can see rhino and zebra are blue. Cool. Alrighty. Top, let's see. If we did class top, that should also work too. So we could do this. We could do class top, but then we would need to say H2. So the H2s that are inside of top, right? Because top's not actually on the H2s. So just to be a little bit more specific, we would say the H2s inside of top. So that could work too. That would work. Let's just double check. Let's save it. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Still blue, right? A little bit more specific because now we're using a class and a selector. Please make only Hufflepuff gold. So if we come down here and we look at Hufflepuff, it does have an ID of best house. So that would probably be the easiest to use. We can do best house as the ID. That'll give us 100 points specificity. Or we can use any of these classes like Harry Potter, Triwizard Champ, Badger. I'm just going to use the ID of best house just so we can see it. Remember, the way we start our IDs is Octothorpe best house. And then we can go ahead and do color gold. All right. Cool. Well done. Well done. If you know your Harry Potter house, can you put it in chat for me? I'm curious. Curious and curious. Who said the cat? Ravenclaw, Ravenclaw. A lot of Ravenclaws. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of Slytherins too. That also makes sense. It's definitely overwhelmingly Ravenclaw and Slytherins. A few Gryffindors coming in through. Hamilton. I love it. Cool. Now we know. Ravenclaw's out in force. Slytherin's out in force. Us Hufflepuffs and Gryffindors got to stick together. All right. Please select duck with the highest level of specificity possible. This is a fun one. I like this one. So duck. Duck has a few classes. It is an H2, and it has the class likes to quack, fight 10 or 100. So let's start there. So H2, and it has the class likes to quack, and it also has the class, what was it? What was it? Fight 10 or 100. So notice I don't have any spaces here. This lack of space means that it has all of these, right? When I don't have a space, that means that it has it. So I'm saying it has both a class of fight or 100, both a class of likes to quack, and it's an H2, right? If I was to put a space here, then what I'm saying is find me something that has that class inside of something that has likes to quack. But that's what we're saying. We're saying it has both of these classes, right? And it has an H2. So that's where we're starting. Then we can do, all right, it's inside of an article, and that article has the class our ducks dinosaurs. I forgot about that one. All right, so let's go ahead and do article. And our ducks dinosaurs, and then there's a space, right? So that's our space, right? Because we're saying the H2 is inside of the article that has the class our ducks dinosaurs. Then that article is a sibling. Like this article is a sibling of a section. That's a sibling of a section. That's a sibling of an H1. So H1 section article. So we're going to do that. H1 plus section plus article. So we're finding an article that's a sibling of a section. That's a sibling of a section. That's a sibling of an H1. Oh boy. And they're inside the body and they're inside the HTML element. So we can then do HTML and then body, and that works. So it's an H2 that has the class of fight 10 or 100 and the class likes to quack. That's inside of an article that has the class our ducks dinosaurs. That's a sibling of a section. That's a sibling of a section. That's inside the H1. That's inside the body. That's inside the HTML element. But these sections all have classes or an ID. So we have to add the ID in classes. So this section had class middle. This had class top. So let's add those. These are wild. Middle, top, and the H1 had an ID, right? Yeah, high. Cool. Somebody's like tuning in that has like that like knows CSS and they're like, what the hell is he doing? And that should work. Color purple. I might have misspelled something or something like that, but let's see. Let's see what we got. First try. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Look at that purple color. I'm in here. Oh, I forgot bang important. No, I'm so close. So close. There we go. I did say the selector. No, I said select. Yeah. So yeah, this is would you ever do this? No. Please do not ever do this in production. This is a exercise for us to see how extreme we can take these selectors. Okay. You would never, ever do this in real life. This is just so that we can practice. So I'm going to save this second one, the Rhino. I'm going to save that for office hours on Saturday. So you can come look at this one, and then hopefully that helps you with Rhino if you didn't get it correct. So don't do this during a whiteboarding interview. If somebody really wanted to do it, I would actually, this would actually be a fun interview question, I think, in my opinion. I would love to ask this in an interview. Cool. Let's keep moving, folks. Back to the slides. All right. So we reviewed some of the basics of CSS. We looked at nested selectors. We looked at some classes and IDs. We added some more specificity. We've learned about the box model. We've drawn it out beautifully. It's time to talk about some layout. This is kind of like the next step in our evolution of CSS, meaning that we now know how to style things. We know how to target the things that we want to style. We know how much space things take up. The next level of styling is layout. Like, how do we put stuff next to stuff? How do we move stuff around the page? And so the older way of doing layout is something called floats. And floats really aren't used anymore. They are something that for a long time was how folks laid out a page, but there are much better options now. Flexbox and CSS Grid are way better options in my opinion. If I'm ever building a site, I am definitely using Flexbox. I am definitely using CSS Grid. I actually like floats. I'm one of those weird people that like them. I think I can think about floats in a very straightforward way. I feel like Flexbox and CSS Grid, I need to know more vocabulary to do the things I want to do. Whereas floats, it's just math and percentages and I can do whatever I want. So I actually like floats as a teaching tool because I think it can get you thinking about layout, but we are going to very quickly move to Flexbox and CSS Grid because that's what you're going to be using in production. That's what you'll be using on your team. But some of you might join a team that has really old CSS and there might be floats and you can't be on the job being like, I've never seen these before. And so since they are so weird, since they're really not taught anymore, I wanted to teach it because I think this is one of the few places you're going to actually get a good overview of floats and get some practice. So I want to use it. I want to practice with it. Our first couple of layouts will be using floats, and then we'll move on to Flexbox. We'll move on to CSS Grid. Okay. So let's talk about floats. And I like this GIF because this is what a lot of professionals will be like, how dare you? How dare you talk about floats? But that's my reasoning. That's my logic. I think it's actually a decent learning tool for layout, but we'll move on quickly to the other things. You can hear the British accent of this GIF. All right. Floats kind of live and die by one rule. If you float content, that content is going to fight as hard as it can go into a specific corner. Okay. So if you float content left, that content is going to go all the way up and then all the way to the left as much as it can go. If you float something to the right, it's going to go all the way up and then all the way to the right as much as it can go. In this case, the left floated element is trying to get into that corner. And in this case, the floated right element is trying to get into that corner. Okay. That's all floats are doing. There are a lot of quirks with floats. There are a lot of weird things that you have to learn with floats. But for now, when you float something, it's going to try its hardest to go up. And if it's floated left, it's going to try its hardest to go to the left. All right. I have no idea what direction that is. I don't know the reverse or whatever. Right. So the idea here is up and then to the left or up and to the right. And it's going to fight really hard to get into a corner. So the idea here is if we had, let's say we had a layout. And here's my browser. And I had two two elements that were stacked, two sections. As soon as I float them both to the left, these sections are going to go up as far as they can go and to the left as much as they can go. So what I would wind up with is two sections sitting next to each other because they're both fighting really hard to get into that corner. They went up until they hit the top of the browser window, and they went to the left until they hit the browser window. And in the case of this second section, it went left until it hit the other element. So the idea here is that the floats are going to compete to go up, and then they're going to compete to go to the left or compete to go to the right. And the way that you get layout is through this side effect where the elements wind up sitting next to each other. Okay? That's all floats are doing. So if we look at this layout, right? If we look at this layout, right, there are some things that we're going to notice. If I was looking at the HTML, right? If I was looking at the HTML, what could this be? Like, what's some ideas about what type of HTML tag would this be? Could be a header. If that's a header, what would this be? Footer. And then how about these three elements here? What could those be? Sections. Yeah. Let's just say they're sections for now. We might not have the semantic logic to know that they're sections, but let's just say they're sections. So we have a header, we have a footer, and we have three sections. Now, if I wanted these sections, let's say I want these sections to sit next to each other. How could I get those three sections to sit next to each other? What could I use? What did we just talk about? We could float them all to the left, right? So let's say they all had a height, maybe like a height of, let's say, like 300 pixels. And this is where floats get a little confusing. If I wanted them to sit next to each other and be equal, what would the width have to be of these three sections? What would the width need to be? Yeah, the width would need to be 33% because there's three equal sections, right? Three equal sections that are all sitting next to each other. So you would need to give them a height and then a width of 33%, and then you would need to float them all to the left. In CSS, we have 4 decimal places. That's the max we can go, right? And so the idea here would be that you would have a height and a width. They would all have a width of 33%, and then you're going to float them all to the left. So since I have set this up for you, we're going to put half the time on the clock. We're going to put 7 minutes and 35 seconds. 7 minutes flat. There you go. I want you to try and make this layout. Header, footer, 3 sections. All right. You'll notice that I don't have a folder for this. So you can either try creating your own from scratch, or you can override one of the folders that we've used for class. Okay. You have 7 minutes of pain. Dig deep. Try and do this. Leroy Jenkins. All right. Seven minutes. Try and build this layout. Either start from scratch or use one of the templates we've used before. Should be painful. Use floats. Box sizing is not cheating. It's going to be something you're going to need. There's lots of quirks here. So we're going to talk through the quirks once we try and figure it out. I'm going to put some music on. If you have questions, go ahead and ask questions. No flexbox, no CSS grid. You must use floats. Excuse me. You got this. Dig deep. I believe in you. Code through the pain. The mental pain. Don't ever code through physical pain. You should stop. You should stop. Take care of yourself. If you're new and you said, hey, Leon, I would like the solutions to everything we covered today. Well, that's easy. All you have to do is join our Discord. !Discord will get you a Discord community. Agree to the rules, and then you'll see a follow along materials channel that'll have all the starter materials we used today, including the things that we go over today, and all the solutions will be posted there after class. Thank you, Alyssa. Last class is already on YouTube if you missed last class and you want to check it out. Five minutes left, folks. 5 minutes. You got this. I know this is new. I know this is rough. So this is your first time doing anything with floats. It's your first time ever thinking about layout. That's okay. I want you to try, and then we're going to go over it together. Just try. That's all I'm asking. Give me some vomit. Okay, Kayla with the done already. Nice. You got this all. Dig deep. You got it. Ooh, folks coming in with the done already. I love it. I love it. Can you post code here? I think you can, but it might be a little bit hard. You got this, y'all. Dig deep. Bidgie, that's okay. We're going to go over it together, and then you're going to have 3 more layouts to work on before next class. So if you have no idea where to start, that's okay. We're going to go over it together so you'll have a better idea for the next few. Ooh, got some folks coming in done. Nice. Yo, don't worry if you're confused. That's all right. We're going to go over it together. We're going to talk it through. This is hard if you've never done this one before. Yeah, you're going to need to write both. Like I said, this one's like super overwhelming. Don't worry. MDN is the truth. I agree. Overwhelmingly helpful. Ooh, Mayu got the done. Nice. Sections. You might need to give them some height, 700 days. Need some height. You might need to be able to see them. Do you have a color? Do you have a border? What do you got? Ooh, Super Cyborg Ninja. Yeah, the footer is the hard part here because there's a quirk when using floats that we have to learn about. Ooh, count the shells, you hit the other quirk. You're gonna need something called box sizing. Box sizing is the way we get around that border issue. In the Learn Layout reading, they talk a little bit about it. Yeah, we're gonna need some clearing. Yep. Whew. Ooh, 1 minute left, folks. 1 minute. We're gonna go over it together. I'm excited. Ooh, excuse me. Sorry. All right. Excuse me. Yeah, all right. Medi got the clear both in there. Nice. Alyssa, I like the colors too. I like to use colors a lot. Ooh, got a lot of folks coming in. Done. Bakari with the hydrate. A deal. Thank you. Cheers to you. Cat, you made them pink. Wonderful. Cat with another hydrate. Cheers. I think I'm almost done my ST. I think this will be the killing. Boom. Done. Love it. Alrighty, folks. Do the borders have to be like yours? Hey, if you want to follow along the way I do it, yeah. You could have done it without borders. You could have done it with colors. Like my borders might be a little bit thicker in certain places because they're doubling up. But the idea is get close. Get close. Remember, we're vomiting code. All right. Yeah, they're going to be thick because of double borders on the quick solution that we do. All right, let's go over this together. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm not going to use any of the other code or a template or anything like that. I am going to go to my folder from today. So I'm going to make sure I'm in like class 4 materials. And I'm just going to go ahead and do new folder. And I'm going to call this pain. There we go. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to go back to my text editor. I can see that pain is there now. And so I'm just going to close these two. And I'm going to save it just so I have it saved. And I'm going to do file new. And I'm going to immediately save this file as an index.html into the pain folder. There we go. And then I'm going to create another new file. And I'm immediately going to save this as style.css. I'm going to go to my pain folder. And I'm going to create a CSS folder for it to go into. And I'm just going to save it into that CSS folder. And there we go. So now if I open up pain, you can see that I have my index.html. And you can see that I have my CSS folder. And inside my CSS folder, I have my style.css. So it's all kind of nice and neat, ready to go. I'm going to use the hack here. It's going to do, not hack, but the shortcut. HTML, I'm going to hit tab. And it's going to give me everything I need to start with my HTML. And then in the HTML, we said that there were a couple tags. We said there was a header. And then since I'm not putting anything in it, I'm just going to keep the header on the same line. We said that there were 3 sections. And so same thing. Since I'm not putting anything inside, I'm just going to keep them on the same line. The open and closing tag, that is. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this 2 more times. Boom. Boom. Whoop. Make sure it doesn't do that. All right. And then the last one I'm going to do is just the footer. And there we go. So I have my header. I have my section. I have my section. I have my section. And I have my footer. All looking spiffy. So let's go ahead and move over to our CSS. And there are a few things that I want to talk about. So if we look at this layout, there are some things that are going to give us trouble. Okay. Some things that are going to give us trouble. If I give everything a border, all right? If I give everything a border, right? If I give everything a border, then I'm going to wind up with 33.333% plus 33.333% plus 33.33% plus the borders on every side. That would take me over 100. And I would break to the new line, right? So we have something called the box model hack. What the box model hack does is it enables us to ignore the border sizing, right, when we're calculating the width. So this is what enables us to be able to stack stuff next to each other without having to like do big brain math for the borders, right? So that's the first thing I'm going to handle when I get to my CSS. This was in the learn. If you're like, Leon, I never heard of this. This was in the learn layout reading. And so it'd be important to kind of take a peek at that. So I'm going to go ahead and do asterisk. And all an asterisk is it means it applies to everything. And then I'm going to do box sizing border box. Now I don't have to worry about my borders messing with my widths. I'm going to do my header. And I'm going to give it a height of 100 pixels. And I'm going to give it a border of, let's just do, so we can see it, 3 pixels solid black. This is going to give me some thicker borders, but I want to be able to see it on stream. Cool. So I have my border box. I have my header. And I'm going to go ahead and open this in the browser. So here's my pane. Here's my HTML file, dragging it over to the browser. And I can't see anything. Right? Can't see anything. Why can't I see anything, chat? Why can't I see anything here? Oh, Sid the Coder got it first. Yeah, I didn't link my CSS. So if I didn't link my CSS, I'm not going to see any of my CSS changes. So let's go ahead and do my link. Let's make sure we're putting in the appropriate CSS. CSS/style. Style.css. Let's save it. Let's go back and refresh. There we go. Now I have my lovely header. I just see a big oh my god from Root Beer. I'm assuming maybe you forgot to link your CSS. That's a common problem. Yeah. All right. So we have our header. Let's go ahead and take care of our footer real quick too. And we're going to see some patterns here. Cool. We're going to do the same thing, height, 100 pixels. And we're going to do the same thing. So as soon as you ever see yourself kind of doing the same thing, right? Like if it's exactly the same thing, you're going to want to take note of that, right? It's going to work. Let's go ahead and go back to our browser and refresh. It's there. It works. But we literally use the same CSS for the header and footer. So there is a principle that's important to note, right? There's a principle to note called keeping your code dry. Do not repeat yourself, okay? So here we're very clearly repeating ourselves. And so there's a cool trick in CSS where you can just do comma and then another selector, and the rule will apply now to both the headers and footers. So I can get rid of these 4 lines of CSS and it's gonna work exactly the same way, right? We have a header and a footer. We're going to finish this up. As soon as we're done this, we're going to call the class. And so give me an extra 2 to 3 minutes and we'll be done. Okay. All right. So this is dry. That's why I put WAP in the chat. This is dry. We're not repeating ourselves, right? And so we have our height and our border applying to both. Now let's talk about our sections. Kind of already talked about, let's make the height a little bit bigger. Let's do 300 pixels. We said the width is going to be 33.33% repeating, of course. Shout out Leroy Jenkins. And then we want to be able to see them. So we're going to do border, make them a little bit thinner so we can, but still be able to see them. Solid black. Cool. And right now they should stack, right? Let's go ahead and take a look. They're stacking 1, 2, 3. But if I want them to sit next to each other, right now we're going to use floats. Remember, this is old ways of doing it, old methods. We're going to learn about Flexbox and CSS Grid, but for now I want you to learn how to use floats. And so we have the sections that are stacking. And if I don't want them to stack, I need them to float next to each other. So I'm going to do float left. Cool. So I save that and I go back. And I refresh. All right, we're almost there. The 3 sections are sitting next to each other, but something odd happened here. Anybody know what happened here? Something odd happened here. Here's what happened. When I floated the 3 elements, the 3 sections, they literally got floated off the page. Think about them literally floating off the page now, right? And so as soon as those 3 sections floated off the page, the footer zoop, slid underneath, right? The 3 sections floated and the footer slid underneath until it hit the header, okay? So there's some ways to solve this. You can put a float on the footer. This would make it work. Or if you did the reading, there's also this property called clear. And clearing is kind of like crossing the street. It's going to tell the footer to look to the left, look to the right. And if there's stuff floating, stay where you're at. Okay. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to do the clearing for now. Clear both. And that's going to tell it, like, if you see anything floating above you, stay where you're at. Don't slide underneath of it. And so when we come back and we refresh, boom, we have our layout. We have the header, we have the footer, we have our 3 equal sections. So we just divided 100 by 3. We floated them all to the left. And we have things like the box model hack to help us not have to worry about counting the borders. All right. So we went through this quickly. You have the video, which will be immediately available here on Twitch. So if you want to rewatch the class, you can. I'm going to post this solution code immediately on Discord, so you'll have that. Okay. And we have a little bit of homework that's going to help you reinforce these concepts. Okay. Both just means that you're clearing things that are on the left and you're clearing things that are on the right, because you can float left and right. So clearing just clears both any floats to the left and any floats to the right. All right. So I'll share the code here. Your homework, let's jump back to the slides real quick. Your homework is to complete these 3 layouts. So you have 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to ask you to do these 3 layouts before Thursday. So I want these done for Thursday. I'm going to ask you to submit them on Thursday. I know normally the rule is not until a week later, but we want to start picking up the pace a little bit here. So I need these kind of done so we can go over them and kind of move on and review our CSS and our HTML. If things didn't make sense this class, that's okay. Our next Thursday class is all review. We're reviewing HTML. We're reviewing CSS. We're going over it all. And then we're going to have office hours on Saturday to get even more review in. And then we're going to pick out the face, folks. Next week, we're going to start going a little bit faster. All right. I'm going to ask for the stuff that was due Thursday. Yeah, that'll be due then. I'll ask for it. And I'll share everything on the Discord. As always, I want to end with a raid. Let's send somebody some love and positivity. As always, don't worry about submitting until class. I'll share how to submit everything before class. Yeah. So I want, to be specific, I want these 3 layouts done. No flexbox, no CSS grid. You are using floats. You're using floats for all 3 of these layouts. Alrighty, my friends. It was lovely having you here. It was great having you back after the weekend. Let's end with a raid. We have somebody that's doing the NFL Big Data Bowl, and they're doing some cool stuff with NFL data. We're going to send them some love and positivity, send good vibes, tell them where you came from, give them a follow. I'm going to start the raid. See you all over there. So give me 1 second to queue it up. I'll be hanging out there for a few seconds. Alrighty. Give me 1 second here. Typing it in. All right, here we go. Getting ready to start the raid. Starting in 10 seconds, folks. Lovely having you. Have a wonderful evening. See you all on Thursday and see you over on the raid.